Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the fourth episode of the Enzo Explores podcast. I'm joined with my good friend, John Nguyen. How are you doing, John?
Doing great. Really excited to be here. Saw your podcast. Love your work. Can't wait to
Awesome.
talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So, John, please tell everyone about yourself, what interests you have. I know you're at university. Like, what are you studying? What do you hope to do? Just give a general introduction about yourself.
Yeah, cool. So a little bit about me is that I met Lorenzo here and Porter and everyone else through Anteater Catholic. And the funny thing is that I don't even go to UCI. I go to Cal State University Fullerton. So Fullerton also has a Catholic club too. So no hate on Titan Catholic, but I met you guys, like fell in love with their community, with the culture here, and as far as what I'm studying currently marketing.
Nice.
I had a phase back when I was straight out of high school. I couldn't decide exactly what I wanted to do. So I went to community college first because it was the more affordable route. And I wanted to double major in a whole bunch of stuff. So I tried to do business with psychology with like a little bit of like comp sci in the background. But eventually like they were like, this is too much. So they narrowed me down and I finished OCC with 3 degrees. I have an associate's in liberal arts because they're throwing those away. And then I have another one in communications and then a third one in business administration.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I took that business administration one to Cal State Fullerton, which I'm working on to get my marketing degree.
Awesome, dude. I actually have similar interests in that. I went to community college myself. I was actually one class away from an associate's degree. I never thought I really needed the degree, so I was just like, well, I won't get it. The one class was business law. That was just the last one I needed to take.
That was a fun class.
Yeah, I probably should have taken it just to get the associate's degree, but even like looking at my resume now, like I'm not sure like it was necessary to have it. I mean, I have a business economics degree and then I decided to pursue like my minor in accounting as well, but I've always had that interest in business administration and I've always loved my marketing classes. And I'm even applying for marketing jobs right now as I'm going into it just cuz, filming podcasts, doing Enzo Beats, all the general like video production, videography. I've always been on like Adobe Premiere Pro and the Adobe Suite, and I find a lot of passion in marketing as well. So
Yeah,
that's something I
100%.
want to do. Is that where you're hoping to go in for
Yeah.
your career?
Similar too. So a little bit more background is that in high school I started my own small business and stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I actually like loved different aspects of business. I loved promoting promotions. I love the way products are like thought up. I don't know. It was just the whole concept of finding a need and then creating something to fulfill that need. It was something that was just really fun for me. So for me, it's similar to there. I love like marketing. I learned how to like video edit. I learned how to like edit photos and stuff. I love Illustrator. So I'm like definitely in that realm too. But I wouldn't like the thing that we're different on is accounting. I hate accounting.
Oh yeah.
Like last video you were talking about how like it's just like pluses, like adding and subtracting, but exactly finding what you're supposed to add and what you're supposed to subtract, that's a nightmare. And I'm also dyslexic, so when it comes to like the sheets, you know how
Yeah.
it's so tightly gathered, I can't. It's hard to look at.
Yeah, accounting is definitely like it takes a certain person to enjoy it and go forward with it, and that's why for me, even in my like career, like if I find like a job in accounting, that's something I definitely only want to start at like an entry level and work my way up. I'd actually love to be more of like a product manager or a project manager, any sort of thing where I can be in control and work with the finances, but also other departments as well. Like, and obviously the department I'd love to work with the most would be the marketing department and, marketing whatever project we're working on or whatever product we're working on. And I'm just like the kind of person who likes to be in charge of like, seeing the different components come together and to put that thing forward. And for me, you may know that I've been doing like some cafe fundraisers or like bake sale fundraisers with Anteater Catholic, or not with Anteater Catholic. We did it for AFL, Anteaters for
Cool,
Life,
cool.
and then we just did one for Lawanig, Light of God Filipino Catholic Ministry. And for me, like I love doing these bake sales at parishes because I'm the one who creates a product line, right? What products we're going to have, reaching out to the people and like who's going to make those products. And then my favorite part is doing the graphic design for the menu, doing the graphic design for promotion, and then like kind of delegating different things of like who's going to reach out to the parish, who's going to make sure we have the supplies we need. But that is like the most fun that I have is like doing projects like that.
I agree. I agree. Similar to you, yeah. I love the human aspect of it, like the way you talk to people, like the way how. So when a little bit more background is that I had a part-time job at Best Buy, and then
Oh, wow.
my favorite part about selling was just talking to people, getting to like know people, getting to know what like is going on in their lives. So it's so fun hearing like, oh, we're about to have a new kid, so we're moving here, or oh, we just came from the state. And it's just like it's so cool when you meet someone and everyone is so willing to like share a bit about their lives because like we're social creatures.
Sure.
One of my favorite books is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have you heard of that one?
I think I have heard about it. I haven't read it, but I think my brother read it, and I think
Yeah.
that was where I had first heard about
It's
it.
really good. But one of the things that Dale Carnegie, I think this is new. Okay. Anyhow, one of the things that he mentions is that like the quickest way to make a friend is to like let someone talk about themselves. And like you just start to like see that more and more, especially in sales, especially in like marketing. Like 'cause even when you're marketing, you're finding a way to target. You're not targeting like the person so as much you are a feeling or something in their heart.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah, you're trying to elicit an emotional response
exactly,
almost,
an
right?
emotional response.
Yeah. It is Dale
Yeah,
Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, I'd probably have to look into it. I want to get into reading more. That was supposed to be my New Year's resolution for the year, and I did start by. I didn't know we'd be pulling this out sooner, but this book is called Wabi Sabi. The book's in my car because I try to read it in between my Uber Eats deliveries. But it's Wabi Sabi. It's a great book. That's kind of what I've been started with. And I was supposed to finish one book every month, and technically I could catch up, but I've been doing so bad. We're already in May.
We're in
and
May, 5 books. How many books you got down?
I haven't even finished the first one.
It's okay.
I need to finish it, and I honestly could finish it in 30 minutes because I think I only have like 20 pages left.
What's your like page count to count as a book for this
For
goal
this
of
book?
yours? No, for this goal of yours. Like with this count, could you finish this and say
If
like
I
that's
was
a book?
if I like genuinely sat down to really like I guess like sit down and focus on this material, I can.
Yeah,
You
this
can
one.
see my cat's encyclopedia
Yeah.
here as well. I got this at Barnes and Nobles for guess how much I got this.
Like, was it a clearance sale? Or okay,
What?
let me just guess.
It was a clearance sale.
It was a clearance sale. Maybe like $10.
So regular price is $40, right? I saw it in clearance for $3
Oh my god.
with additional 50% off. So it was
Wait, what?
$1.50. I got this for $1.50.
That's crazy.
And it's got like incredible printing, right?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Incredible printing.
100%.
And they had one more. I should have just bought two of them.
Was it the
just to
exact
have
same
it.
thing?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I should have just bought it just to have two. I don't know. It's $1.50. So
Nice.
yeah, maybe I'll go through and read that. Honestly, it would be quite interesting to go through and read that cat's book. But yeah, I've been reading the Wabi Sabi book. It's about so Wabi Sabi. Have you heard of that philosophy?
I don't think so. Tell me a bit more. I might have, but I'm not too familiar with them.
It's about the philosophy of the finding beauty in the imperfection, in the transient nature of life, and the incompleteness as well. So Wabi Sabi, the biggest like way that you can understand it or connect it is looking at nature. The big part of the philosophy is understanding that nature is impermanent, it's imperfect, and it's transient. So it's constantly changing.
That's right.
So it's kind of like taking that and applying it to your life. One of the examples they used from the book was I don't know if you're ever into Bruce Lee, but one of his big sayings was like "be like water," right? And so that's kind of like one thing that the book brings up is like water like doesn't conform to anything, or like actually I think it can conform to anything, right? It can conform to anything, and like its state is constantly changing, and there's never a sense of like perfection in flowing water and whatnot.
The
Right?
fact that he asked an Asian guy if I know who Bruce Lee is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, believe it or not, I have a Vietnamese friend named Bruce Lee.
Oh, that's
Yes,
so
I
funny.
do.
That's crazy.
I love
Well,
that guy.
I don't know that Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's actually, my mom was his confirmation sponsor.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
and he's in Japan right now for his he's in the Navy But
Oh
that guy's
wow.
super cool, and I love that guy. I want to talk to him, dude. I'd love to have him on the podcast
Oh, there you go. Bring up some
when
guys.
he ever comes out. I mean, I know he's in Japan right now, but anyways, I've been reading that Wabi Sabi book, and I bought another book, which was History of Tea, and I was supposed
Oh,
to read that in
interesting.
February, but I still haven't gotten to it.
Interesting.
But yeah, do you read books often or?
Kind of. So for me, I cheat a little bit. I do listen to audiobooks,
Oh, I do
especially
too
especially when I
sometimes.
drive.
Sure.
But yeah, I do read a couple. So a few. I have this bad habit of starting things and not completely finishing it. Well, one of them is the Confessions of Saint Augustine. So I
Oh,
guess you
yeah.
can't really blame me because it's so thick.
Right.
But
Right.
I got like almost halfway through just listening on audiobooks whenever I drive.
What can you tell me a little bit more about the Confessions of Saint Augustine?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I know, is it like a compile of like a lot of his works throughout his life, or his personal writings, or?
Yeah, it's his personal writings. It's styled as kind of like, I guess you could say like a diary entries almost. It's kind of like him going reflecting on his whole life and then writing like, oh, at this moment in time, like what was he thinking? Like how are these thoughts connected? One of the big stories from there is like when he realized that like man has an inclination to sin. Like we sin just for the fact of sinning. Like we're drawn to it. Is when he stole, I think it was like a peach, a pear or something,
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
like from a neighbor's tree, just because he could. Like he wasn't hungry. Like he was just with his friends. Like he didn't need the peach. He didn't necessarily even want the peach.
Oh, wow,
He just
really?
wanted to steal.
Dang, I've been there. One time in cross country, we were running and it was a hot summer day.
Yeah.
And there was a pomegranate tree, and we all took a pomegranate.
That's crazy.
And we cracked it open and ate it, and it was so good. But,
Stolen
we didn't do it
fruits.
just to steal. We wanted it
yeah,
because we were hungry.
Gotcha.
But,
You
yeah.
know, if we're both gonna incriminate ourselves, me and my family too. Sometimes when we go on long road trips,
Yeah.
you drive past like the farms. I can't remember where, but they have these orange trees.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
then we're like, oh, drive closer, drive closer. We'd open the window and drive by, grab an orange off the tree.
Oh, that's crazy. That's so funny.
The sweetest orange we'll ever taste.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, my mom actually used to. So my mom has a rule where if the fruit has fallen, it's free to take.
It's free.
So
So you just shake the tree and everything.
no. So there's a church over in Temecula in the vineyard. I probably shouldn't like tell you exactly where this place is, but
So just bleep it out.
yeah,
Bleep
where it's where the nuns live, but they have lemon trees next to like the parking lot, and a lot of times, and it's on the top of like a little hill, so a lot of times the lemons come rolling down a bit, and so after mass she would just kind of walk up a little bit and take a
Yeah,
lemon
because
from
it's
the
given
floor.
by God. That's what I mean. It fell off the tree, rolled down to you.
Right. Her excuse is, well, it doesn't seem like they're using it. So yeah. I remember one time too. Also in cross country, there's a place in Temecula that we call Magical Forest, and this person has like a. I probably should not be describing exactly where these things are, but this person has a grapevine. And
wow.
in August and September, I think when grapes grow. Dude, they're the best grapes ever. And
my
it was so plentiful that we would come back for weeks.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
just coming and eating grapes.
And the only time you've ever eaten the grapes were stolen grapes.
Yeah, no, so the reason why we had it is because the vine was growing outside the property.
Oh, that
right.
makes
So
sense.
because it's a trail and their backyards here, and they have like fences with like
That makes sense.
guards and bars, and it's not that we're reaching into their property,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the vine has been growing outside of the property. That
makes sense.
So it's like, well,
Free pickings, right? Yeah.
that's just a story I've heard, right? I don't know if I was necessarily a part of it, but just for the sake of legal purposes, it's a fun story that I've heard from the grapevine, right? Yeah. How did we get on that? Yeah, Tom or not Tom?
Yeah. It was Augustine. Yeah.
Augustine.
Actually, going back to stolen
Yeah.
fruits, my family, we used to have a passion fruit tree.
Oh yeah.
And passion fruits, they grow on vines, and they're very invasive. Like they move everywhere.
Right.
We actually it like covered the entire fence because they kind of seek out the sunlight. And there was more sun past their house, so it creeped over. And then all of the good passion fruit were on the outside.
Oh,
And then
what?
we ended up having a lot of neighbors coming by and stealing our fruits. And my mom would like stand out there and yell at them for it. So
Well, you get some, you lose some, right?
yeah,
So I guess
exactly.
that's the cycle of life. And as I'm older, I definitely want fruit trees.
Yeah, 100%.
So, you know, if people end up reaching for some, you know, who am I to judge,
Right. And I think like certain fruit trees too could even increase like the sell price of your house, you know? Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure.
like I can't remember who, there's this YouTuber, or maybe it's on TikTok, where he bought a house with a mango tree. And the reason he bought it was because of the mango tree, because they take like years to grow. And the city's like, you have to cut down the tree. It's like doing all this stuff. And he was like, I'll do everything except cut down the mango tree.
Wow,
So
yeah.
he like redid the parking, he redid the wall, did so much stuff. And I was like, yeah, I think it's just so nice to be able to grow your own food. Maybe it's
Of
just
course.
maybe it's just something about us like going back to our roots, you know?
Right.
As like finally getting to do stuff instead of just buying it at a grocery store.
Right. Not to get too philosophical, so quickly per se, but that's kind of like that's one point that I always found interesting with regards to the Adam and Eve story, because even in paradise, are we tending to something? We're working and tending to the garden that God has given us, and like you said, like maybe there's some primordial kind of draw to tending to something, and as you see out there, I'll put a picture hopefully if I
see
can
it.
remember.
Beautiful garden.
Right, right. It's a humble garden for what you know. We're in university. We don't have any land to grow food on, but I wanted to buy like that box because growing up, every year for the most part, definitely every year in the past, I'd say 8 years. I think my dad and I, and even my mom would come out, and my brother as well. We would do a vegetable garden, and that was something that we've always done, and I've always enjoyed it. So I wanted to buy a vegetable box, and I'm growing bell peppers out there, jalapenos, tomatoes, and I just planted the strawberries. And I'm hoping to get more green onions and cilantro in there. So it's fun. It's therapeutic, and it's so like you feel more in tune with like life because you could go through the whole year and it can feel the same, but when you're like growing plants, you see the seasons change within the plants. And so like
100%.
obviously we're in spring, and those two tomato plants out there,
They
were
weren't there
seedlings.
before. Yeah.
I you know, I
I
had
remember
planted the
walking
seeds.
by and just seeing the dirt on the table.
Yeah, we
know?
for example, we had you could do this at home too. You just get an egg carton. I like to get the 18 count because and you want the biodegradable kind of like
'cause it'll, like, break into that,
cardboard
right?
because it's easier to break out. So don't use plastic, but you just fill some dirt in there and plant the seeds. And for my dad, he did the same thing too with 12, and I think all 12 were good grown plants. And actually. Let me go get one. And,
Okay, cool.
because I still have it in the pot. So let me grab it.
Nice.
You guys will be able to hear it.
You can't see what happened. Something fell the moment it opened up.
Yeah, right here, right here. So these are the tomato plants that I haven't even planted yet. The only reason why I had to throw out a couple because they were kind of a little too weak, and obviously with the resources I have as a college student, I can't really like do the most for them. But I grew these despite them being in like a Lowe's thing. I actually grew these myself, and I replanted them in here so they would have a bigger pot. But I'm keeping these for at least one for my girlfriend. And honestly, if there's anyone else who grows plants, I'd probably give it to them. I don't know if you grow any or if you want a tomato plant. You could have one if you want, but yeah, these were like small seedlings. And I guess my point of it is that like watching like something like you plant something in April, you see it grow, and like
sprout.
by summer you'll by like. Probably, I'd say maybe by early June, you'll maybe see the flowering. Maybe late May, you'll start to see it flower. And then, you know, by August, you're going to have tomatoes. And you feel more in tune with, like, how God intended us to, like, kind of, like, be in
100%.
tune with nature and life. And, like, that's something I want to carry forward. And
This is
into
actually
my
really
future.
nice. Let's just keep it here. It adds to it, right?
Yeah, we totally can.
But yeah, I 100% feel you. I think there's just something innately satisfying about productivity. And when it comes to like something like this that's tangible that you can see, it's just like we kind of lost that, like in our modern society. I think actually, just like you said before, how our heart like longs for like these types of like work. Like that's where you start to see like resurgence. Like during COVID, what was the most popular game? Do you remember?
Among Us?
Okay,
No.
you're right. That too, but Animal Crossing. Do you remember?
Was it really?
I
Wow.
think so. Actually, I'm not too sure.
But we can look that up. Let me actually put these outside because I do want them to be in
You're
the
right.
sun.
They do have to be in the sun. We'll see.
Yeah, these
See?
guys need suns all day.
See, I couldn't take care of plants because they're gonna die. I want to look at them too much.
I probably could keep them in for a bit, but
No,
I
I
needed
know,
an
I know.
excuse to close the door.
And right now is like a good time for the sunlight. So
Right, yeah, because the way my balcony is, they actually really only get sunlight from, like, direct sunlight from maybe about 3 hours. So, they would probably grow faster if I, like, better positioned it. And
what if you
think I
put like a
might.
mirror to like reflect the sun back there? Just like an every angle?
Maybe.
Or like
Maybe.
you know how the car reflectors, would that work?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I've never had to try any of that kind of stuff for my for my garden and all of that. Well, I thought I might as well stop it now, so I don't
gotcha.
have to, right? But yeah, you were saying Animal Crossing though, right?
Yeah, like Animal Crossing and what are they called? Like comfy games. All of them
Right,
have
right,
to
right.
do with like a type of like work, right? Like you always want like it's like oh you, I think one of the comfy games that my girlfriend got me playing was like you work in a latte shop
Oh,
and
really?
like you get to like see it like grow.
What's it called?
Good coffee, bad coffee, I think.
Really? Okay,
Or
hold
good
on.
coffee, great coffee,
Good coffee, great coffee. Yeah.
right? The game.
Good coffee, great
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah,
This
that one, that
here?
one. Yeah,
Oh, nice. Yeah, these kind of comfort games are really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I just never had to switch to play Animal Crossing.
That makes sense.
Let's see. What was the most popular games during
You know,
COVID?
to be honest, probably it might have been Among Us. But I do remember Animal Crossing was like giant.
Animal Crossing is number one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
It is Animal
you're right.
Crossing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Animal
cool,
Crossing
cool.
was number one. That totally makes sense. I mean, because people want to feel like they're still their lives are still important and meaningful, and games are obviously a great way to simulate that and to see how like your effort can see through something from the beginning to like to its
100%.
maturity and to its eventual end. And I'm sure that was a great way to live that out. Among Us was number two.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool.
But I didn't know Animal Crossing was that popular. Dang, I missed out, man.
It's because, like, I think one thing too is Animal Crossing. It had a feature where you like plant trees and stuff, and you go collect the fruits, and you would trade and plant and stuff. And it's just like, wow, like we really do go back to like what we always were made for, just like you said. You know, it's funny because me and my brother just got back from seminary. So
Oh, wow.
we might go to watch Minecraft movie later. I watched it once, but I told my little sister like we have to watch this in 40x.
Oh, jeez.
Have you seen the Minecraft movie?
I have seen the Minecraft movie, yeah.
You know, like there's so many scenes that I'm like, this was made for 40x. Like, for instance, the scene with the minecart. I'm like, that's made for 40x.
What is 40X? Because I don't know if
40X.
I've ever done it.
So a while ago at Universal Studios, they had like the Shrek ride, and it was Shrek
I have done that.
in
yeah.
40x. There's like a theater, and the chair like moves around, and like stuff shoots at you. Yeah, that's 40x.
I almost got abducted on that ride.
What? How does that work?
Yeah, believe it or not, I was in line for that ride, and I was wearing a red sweater with like a hoodie on, and this guy grabbed my arm and said, "Let's go," and I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm being kidnapped." But then I looked around, and I'm like, "Oh, there's another kid with the red sweater. He probably thought that was me, you know." So it was like just a simple misunderstanding. But I remember specifically being in the ride for the Shrek 40X and almost getting kidnapped.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Little do you know that little kid in the red sweater was working with him. It's actually like a little
Oh,
person.
shoot, yeah.
And then they're just abducting kids that way.
Jeez, that's crazy. Yeah, so it's like that. Do your seat moves in 40X?
Yeah, your
like
seats
you feel
move.
it and all
I think
that?
so. I mean, I haven't been to one in a long time, so I'm excited to see what it's like.
Is it like at all Regals?
Yeah,
or-
it's at Regal.
Oh, wow.
Well, I don't know if
Like most
every
Regals.
most Regals
Yeah,
have it.
yeah. Or yeah, like the popular ones, you know. Dang, I never knew that. I should try it.
100%. I mean, the only reason I brought it up is because, like, we talked about before how, like, we innately are, like, called to stuff. It's just funny because in Minecraft, they're like, as a kid, I yearned for the mines.
Yeah.
And, like, a big thing was, I forgot when it came out, but one of the, like, some year ago, it showed that, like, Minecraft was, like, the biggest game of that year. And I think exactly, like, 20 or 50 years ago, kids were just banned from working in the mines.
Oh wow.
And then the meme was like, see the kids yearn for the mines.
That's so stupid. That's crazy.
It's definitely like they're like even Minecraft, like the way the game works, right? Like you're meant to survive, so you build stuff, and then my favorite thing in Minecraft was like building my own farm and
Yes, yes.
right? You know what I mean? Like breeding the animals and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like
Husbandry.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the term, right?
Yeah, I
Husbandry?
don't know. I didn't know that.
Let me. Yeah. Hold on.
Actually, that would be the first time I've heard it.
Husbandry definition. The care, cultivation, and breeding of crops and animals.
Wow, husbandry. Wow, this guy.
Husbandry.
See?
It's so fun.
She reads. He reads.
I read. No, I only know that because I play a Minecraft mod
Oh,
called.
gotcha.
It's called Farmer's Delight.
Farmer's
as well as
Oh.
Delightful and other add-ons to it, and it's a whole like mod suite of like basically husbandry. And there's
Wow.
actually no, I didn't learn it from there. And maybe I did, but I think like in the achievements, even maybe in the regular Minecraft game, there's an achievement called husbandry or something.
Oh,
like that.
maybe. That sounds right.
I learned it somewhere in Minecraft.
I
though,
wouldn't be
but-
surprised. That sounds about right.
yeah, I was a huge Minecraft player, and in recent years, like my favorite thing is to create mod packs that focus specifically on like realism and particularly just what I like to do, what I'd hope to do when I'm older. You know, tending a farm. You know, learning how to create things from scratch. Like that's one of my passions. You know, that's why I'm growing plants. You know, so I can create my own food and like be able to like it's such a valuable skill that people kind of don't really think about as much anymore, but to be able to teach your kids like, oh, you want a Pop-Tart? How about
We make one.
we make one, you know? How about we make the bread? How about we make the frosting, and maybe we do like find different ways to add toppings and whatnot, and you know, and that would be cooler, and it's so much healthier for them, right?
100%.
Compared to packaged stuff. And that's the thing that I like to do. I'm sorry, I'm talking
No,
too much.
100%. No, I feel you, dude. I'm like, wow. Like, do you feel like you're gonna be those people who like work to like earn enough money to move out to a ranch and live out there?
I hope so. That's where I do want to be headed in life.
That's a lot. You see that a lot in Temecula, right? Or no?
Yeah, we do have some ranch houses in Temecula. Fran was a little skeptical of the idea, but then when she kind of saw that like in Temecula you can still feel like you're in a suburb, but they're ranch style homes and they're next to the city center.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
so
cool.
of course it does take some capital to kind of get into that, but for me, I just want enough property to be able to cultivate like, you know, my own plants and just have like a really fun life at home, not for myself, but also for my kids, so that my kids aren't tablet kids, and so that they can
100%.
be bored and explore their creativity and be outside. And,
Yeah,
and I
100%.
think that's very valuable. And of course, you know, I was a gamer. They can play games too and whatnot, but also at least have that opportunity for them to be more like involved. And like I always loved seeing it when kids are like kind of a part of like a process, as like not just the kids but the whole family are a part of like a process and whatnot. And you know, obviously there's like YouTubers out there who will like their whole thing is about like ranch life, and like, you know, the kids
That's
are
right.
milking the cows, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
like the boys are milking the cows, and like the girls are in home making bread and eating the bread. And but like it's a whole process where like each role is like fulfilling something that like some people would say would be like kind of lame or boring, but like for me, I think that's like so fulfilling in life.
Agreed. I mean, I think there's been a weird, like the way that entertainment has been pushed to kids has really been aimed towards the mental aspect of like, oh, this is mentally stimulating.
Yeah.
But it's completely fallen short of the physical aspects,
Yeah.
because when kids grow, they grow into their bodies as well.
Right.
And if they're not running around, they're not like using their arms and legs, they're not building these muscles, like it's gonna start deteriorating, or not deteriorating, but it's not gonna like develop as it should.
Maybe that's why there's a lot of like mind-body disconnection, and why a lot of people feel like they're trapped in their bodies, or like they're, you know, they're not meant to be in this body, and they want to make augmentations to that. But
And it all started with Sword Art Online. I'm just kidding.
that's crazy. I've never seen Sword Art Online.
What? That's
Porter,
crazy.
Yeah.
Porter, you seen Sword Art Online?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he says it's pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
I mean, it's funny because every like, okay, I can't speak for everyone, but most people who watch anime watch Sword Art Online around like middle school time, and we're like, this is the best anime ever. And then you start like watching other stuff, and you come back and you're like, okay, it was a product of its time. You know what I mean? I don't know, Porter. That's just my opinion.
What is the show about? Like, what was so interesting? Because I've heard people say it's a great show, and I've heard people say it's the worst show.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I thought it was amazing. When I grow up, and I'm like, it's okay now, but the premise is basically about this world where you're in a game. Like there's a device, a gaming device that you wear in your head, and it connects your nervous system and your brain to the game, and you get transported into the game, and you live your life in that game. Which like people keep talking about like with VR and stuff. It's like we're getting closer and
We're
closer
gonna get to
that.
like that haptic suits and.
We have those, which are really cool.
Yeah.
I've used them before.
Oh really?
So I think it's not too far off. But in Sword Art Online, like your consciousness goes into the system, and there was a lockout that happened, and people couldn't return back to their bodies until they beat the game.
Oh,
and
wow.
then for some weird reason, people were dying in real life, right? Wait, Porter, in season 1, did people die too, or was it only season 2? Okay, cool. Yeah, if you die in the game, I think it killed you in real life.
Wow.
Because, right, it's like your consciousness.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's happening, but who knows with Neuralink, maybe. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But we talk about like the mind-body disconnect, and that's funny because in that show, there was literally a mind-body disconnect.
Sure. Well, it's a very real dilemma that our future generations are going to have to face in their time,
Yeah,
you know.
100%.
And if it kind of felt like that already in our generation, but with technology advances, as AI is getting better, as VR gets better, you can see like, wow, we're going to be at a place in time at some point where, you know, that desire of just being able to live any kind of life you want in like another virtual world is going to be so tempting.
What was the other one? Oh, Ready Player One.
Right.
Ready Player One
I
portrayed
never
that
saw
really
it, but
oh, really?
I heard the movie.
You gotta watch it. It's so good.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. But yeah, I feel you 100%. Like as humans, right? Like we struggle and we have hardships. I think that's something that comes with being human, and it's something that makes life beautiful and wonderful. But when you keep selling that, like, oh, but you don't have to struggle if you just do this, or there is this that you can do instead of having to face these hardships. People are always gonna find like the easiest way out. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I guess the easiest example of this we can find is how much youth use AI to like do assignments already. A little unrelated, but for other catechists, if you guys are out there, we've noticed that for assignments like bishop letters and saint reports, which you need to get confirmed, more and more students are using AI to the point where some letters were 100% written in AI.
Right.
And they're not even subtle about it. Like these kids are finding easy ways to just make their lives easier. And they miss these learning curves, you know?
Sure.
One kid submitted a bishop letter, and it seemed like all they did was type into ChatGPT, write me a bishop letter, because the letter was written from a perspective of a bishop. And it's like, you completely missed the assignment.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if I ever had to do that for my confirmation.
Really? Maybe it might have been different in Temecula.
Yeah,
'Cause
maybe I
it's by the
did. It's been a while,
makes
of course, but I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with AI in general, though, I will admit that like when it comes to some of my video projects, I've used AI to help me, like, understand a topic so that I can learn how to approach it.
Yeah.
And then what information is necessary to start researching on that. And then
agree.
sometimes I'll use AI, and I'm glad that they have the feature now where you can ask AI for the source and you can read into it more.
100%, which is like super helpful. I think one of the things I use AI with a lot is for research projects, because then you can like ask it like, what are the best sources to look into for this topic?
Right.
And then it'll list it out with a little short, like, this is what this is talking about, and it makes it so much easier because, you know, like the hardest thing to approaching these big papers is just combing through all the different research, you know?
Yeah. When it comes to some of my project videos, I have something here, if it loads. So this chat that I have is like whenever I need to write scripts for my YouTube video, I'll go back to this one because I've trained this ChatGPT to specifically be my assistant for helping me do research. I gave it a name, and I've like...
You can do that?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Well,
that.
I was just like, hey, from now on, your name is blank,
Oh,
and so I'll be
cool.
like, hey, blank, I'm working on this today. I want to try and achieve this goal. Like,
Dang.
what can we do? And so, it'll give me like a narration, but 100% of the time, I'm always gonna change it myself
Yeah, that
because
makes sense.
I just sometimes the way ChatGPT conveys information in like a script, like it's just not what. Sometimes it lacks character, and
Yeah.
so 100% of the time I will change it. But I'll have a back and forth dialogue with the person. So
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
with my assistant, my AI assistant, and I'll be like, okay, like here's the script that I
Yeah.
revised.
And you can tell them like this is what I like, and they'll just start giving you more similar things later,
Right,
right?
right, right. Yeah. So and
That's
actually,
crazy.
as sometimes I actually give it some of my own work so it can learn already how I
Right.
write and how I think, and so
Wow.
I'll kind of just train it in a way to like better suit like me
Your
and
style.
whatnot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if I ever need a script written, I don't start a new chat. I go back to this one because it has memory saved of like how I want
Oh,
to approach that, and so like I think that's a great way of
that
like
makes sense.
integrating AI into your workflow without it not being the sole thing that you use. Yeah.
Cool. I was always curious as to why like ChatGPT keeps a log of what you ask, and seeing this now, I get it. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know you can do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Dang, that's
yeah.
crazy.
It's a great
I've
way.
never heard of naming it though. I didn't know you can do that.
Yeah, I think
The parasocial relationships go hard, you know?
yeah. This one, I think her name is Olivia, because I've
Oh,
always wanted a daughter named Olivia. So,
gotcha,
like in my
gotcha.
mind, it's kind of like
That's so
some
funny.
some family project that
In
I'm
my
working
head, I'm
on.
already thinking of naming mine Jarvis because I just
Yeah,
love
yeah,
art.
of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think let's see. I actually had to start this I had to start this on a new one, and
Oh,
I've been
okay.
going on this one for maybe about a month at the time. But yeah, for this chat, I was like, "Hey, do you remember all the character traits and how you can help me?" And it was like, "Yeah, this is what you gave me, blank, 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 and here's how I can help." And like
Wow.
she's like, "My sole purpose is to help you write scripts and to grow your YouTube channel and
Oh
to
my
like
gosh.
stuff like that." So it's very interesting. That's called prompt engineering. There's a term
Oh,
for it of
prompt
like
engineering.
how you can how you can maximize the tokens, the characters,
Yeah, yeah.
for like the response that you are given. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. I'll have to look into doing that more.
Yeah.
I keep creating new ones,
Oh yeah.
and I'm like, this
I
is
do too if I want to ask a general question.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
this is definitely like smarter for like a more curated response.
Sure. Yeah. If you ever need to write anything and just kind of need to get ideas started, sometimes I'll feed it my own work first and just kind of train it in a mindset closer to
Nice.
mine.
How
Yeah.
do you feel about like how AI is like closing in on the art industry? Like, have you seen those AI films or AI songs?
Yeah. Okay. Well, believe it or not, I'm actually also into generative AI as well,
Oh yeah,
and
me too. It's
and
cool.
photo generation. So currently, right now, or I've had I use Stable Diffusion. I don't know if you've heard of it,
How
but
about
maybe you've heard Midjourney. But these are the big sort of image generation resources
Oh,
that are
got it.
out. Midjourney, I think you have to pay for it, but Stable Diffusion is open source and free. The downside and upside is that Stable Diffusion, they do put out their own sort of data sets. I guess they call them checkpoints, but
Oh,
um, but since it's open source and community based, people actually put out better ones. So while there isn't a company that's directly behind the cultivation of one really good data set that Midjourney has that you pay for, this one you can find a lot more creativity because everyone's in on it. And
gotcha,
so
gotcha.
I've learned how to do
Wow,
image generation
that's crazy.
with that, and it does take quite the resources. I mean, I have a RTX 3070
Oh,
graphics
cool. That's the
card.
same as mine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
3070.
So it does take time. Like for right now, I've been doing anime art generation, and it will
Nice,
take
nice.
about 70 seconds to generate
Oh,
one
okay.
photo.
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and it does take some time, but it's free.
Yeah.
Compared to paying for it.
And it's
And
all cloud based, right? So it's like,
I'm
right?
sorry.
Like it's all cloud based. It's
No, it's
all.
local.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah.
really?
Well, it's all running on my computer
That's
because
crazy.
if it's cloud based, I'd have to pay for a service. Yeah, yeah. So it's
Oh, I
running
didn't
on
know
my
that.
computer. It's running on my graphics card.
That's crazy.
So you do like if you want to get into it, you do have to have the resources for it because you can't do that on a laptop. You would have to go cloud based with like a
Gotcha,
laptop
gotcha.
or a phone or something like that. However, with my laptop and my phone, I've installed other
Because
programs.
chat can actually generate photos too.
Yeah. So I was going to get into that.
Oh, cool.
Most of the chat bots and AI bots that most general people have access to does not compare into its ability to generate,
Wow.
say, like the stuff that I can do locally, because I have a dedicated graphics
That
card
makes sense. Like,
and I have trained models for specific things.
Yeah.
And yeah, here, hold on. I'll show you a photo that I have.
learning so much from this guy. That's crazy.
I was in the line for Indiana Jones, and so I wanted to generate a Hatsune Miku in like an
Wow, that's
anthropology
crazy.
style.
Wait, the detail in that is insane. Like the chat's AI wouldn't have been able to like do
Bokeh.
all this. Yeah.
Yeah. So and so prompts like this, they take a little bit, you know. Let me see if I have any here, because I don't really keep them. And I can show you what it takes
Oh my
to
gosh.
engineer it.
But what I was referring to more was like they have there's been like movies that are completely made from AI. Like with AI generated like people, and it feels a bit weird, but like the scripts are kind of crazy too, because sometimes it's like, wow, like AI can like spit something out right when you tell it to, you know? And like just like you said before, the prompt engineering, you can engineer a prompt to like give you a certain type of result. They have songs that are completely written by AI that are blowing up on YouTube right now. I don't know if that's trending, but I've been seeing it around.
Yeah, I've heard the AI songs have really infiltrated the lo-fi space, the
Oh,
lo-fi music
100%.
space.
But I get it. It's because lo-fi music too is like it can be like it's very what's the term? It follows a pattern. So
It's very lo-fi songs are easy to imitate,
yeah.
and so they sound really good, the AI generated ones. But you can still feel the lack of character in the songs.
Yeah.
They sound
100%.
generally okay, but you can tell that it's been engineered in a manner that doesn't feel human.
Because there's
and
no
whatnot.
heart. There's no heart.
Right. I'm trying to see if, yeah. So this is like, for example, what a prompt will look like. This is the exact one that I used to generate that photo.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, just kind of like detailing all. That's not too crazy, but
Yeah.
we call
I
these
get it, though.
tokens and
That's
whatnot.
cool. You even provided the depth of field, which is good.
Yeah, depth of field, bokeh, you know, different things that come together to build that sort of image and
Cool.
whatnot. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
A big thing, I don't know if you noticed, but a big thing that's been blowing up is like AI dating simulators.
Yeah.
Have you seen those
I've
the
heard
AI
about
dating
it.
like chatbots that people like have fake boyfriend girlfriends?
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Do people actually do that though? You know, I was kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Wow.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to be honest with you. But okay, I'm just outing myself here. But back in like 2019 or something, and I heard about this thing, I was really bored, and for like you know shits and giggles, me and my old coworkers, we would we would talk to like an AI like a girlfriend. But the entire time I was like, wow, like this is not a very sophisticated AI. Like it doesn't even have it doesn't build a log of your character.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was like I'm just imagining like how far it's gotten now from back then.
Yeah, there's a site called Character.ai, I think, and you
Oh,
can,
I've seen that.
yeah, you can create any kind of character you want. Or you can use like other models that people have had, and you can have chats with these virtual kind of characters, like maybe a character you like from your anime.
Did you see even Facebook? Facebook has like AIs that you can talk to based off of like celebrities.
I think Snapchat has some AI like friends you can talk to, right, or
Yeah, I
something.
think so.
I don't use it anymore.
That's crazy, but isn't it wild how like AI is coming in and taking like kind of infiltrating into these spaces where we normally would have like seeked out ourselves. Like for instance, for people who are like shy or have anxiety, I guess they could use something like this to help them like you know kind of train themselves back into the social world. But the danger now is that like what if like somebody prefers to live online the whole time with an AI instead of even wanting to interact with real people anymore?
Right. I think the true heart of that problem obviously comes from their nurturing in the early stage of their life, right?
So no more iPad kids.
Yeah, well, that exactly, right? You know, so when your kid is 1, 2, 3, and probably 4, maybe about 5, you can let them interact more. I think that's when I started to get on computers. Um, like those times are really crucial, right?
Yeah,
You'll hear
100%.
Jordan Peterson talk about that like that's a time where like kids need to play. They need
Yeah.
to learn to interact um, with people their age, and they need to do so without parental supervision. Sometimes, obviously, there
Like you
can
want
be
them to be safe.
there yeah, there can be supervision, but without like intervention. They
Yeah.
need to experience what conflict is like and to be able to resolve that conflict on their own, and that can be literally as young as like 2 years old, 1 years old. You
You're
see
right.
babies in cribs sometimes like sorting things out, by themselves,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
those social interactions are very crucial. I mean, of course, I'm not a psychologist or
Yeah.
child psychologist on all of this, but at least that's just what I've heard from the ether, that time in your life is so crucial, and it just like it just like hurts me that like you go to a restaurant and you're at a
Yeah.
diner, and not only is the kid on a tablet, but the mother's on their phone, the
And the
father's on the
father's on the phone.
phone,
Yeah.
everyone
That's
involved is
so
on their
sad.
phone. It's just like, geez, it's like, what are we like? Even when I get on the bus and I see everyone on the phone, I'm just like, dang, man, like I kind of feel weird if I go on my phone now. So I
Yeah,
try to
yeah,
like
yeah.
make an effort and not be on my phone.
But you see this even more. Like, have you ever been to a theme park?
Yeah,
At any theme park, the entire line,
in
people are
line.
just on their phone.
Look, I'm a victim of it too. That was
Yeah,
me on Saturday
100%.
when I went to Disneyland. Obviously my first my first desire would be to just have a conversation with the people you're with.
Yeah, yeah.
Granted, the time that I went on Saturday, it was 96 degrees.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Fran and I could barely think in the heat, and I
Yeah.
was sick and whatnot. So
Yeah,
having a
I
conversation
get
was
it.
really hard, and she was just so hot. And I mean, everyone was hot. That like conversations, people were just
100%.
like
They're just
drained.
drained. Yeah.
So there were people on their phones,
That's
but
an unlucky day to go to Disneyland, though. I will say.
it was the hottest day
In a while.
in a while, yeah. But yeah, even if I'm on my phone though, I try to make it interactive with her as well. So we play games together.
That's right. That's right.
You
Like
know, we'll do
heads up.
the connections.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Connections, Wordle, stuff like that. So I at least try to still have that social play, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
I don't want to just be on my phone. I was generating those Mikus though as well, and kind of showing her, and
That makes sense.
she was like, "Stop generating Mikus." Yeah.
Does Fran ever get jealous of your AIs? Like the interactions you give to your AI?
No. I don't know if she knows about the YouTube partnership I have.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was this was a new series on Filipino culture. I actually did have it be a Filipino girl named Olivia,
That's so
who
funny.
was supposed to know about Filipino culture and help me understand it better. Um, and like I said, I mean, granted, I'm still with Fran. My daughter will be Filipino, and
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
to name her Olivia. So it's kind of
Makes
like that
sense.
idea of passing on the family.
Oh my gosh,
business.
that's crazy.
It's weird, right?
That's so
Yeah.
Asian of you, because you're comparing this daughter that you haven't even made yet with an AI already.
Kind of. That's pretty crazy. I honestly, I don't think about it too much. Actually, I don't even really use her name too much. A lot of the times I'll just come in and be like, hey, I got to make the script today.
That makes
Help me
sense.
right quick, stuff like that. But yeah, AI is definitely an interesting way to integrate into your workflow, but there's also a scary side to it, right, for the future
100%.
generation. I mean, with all the temptations and all the different, struggles that we had in our generation that seems so hard to escape. Can you imagine where our kids are going to be?
100%. And like AI is like, well, I forgot what the term is, but there was how like things progress. I thought that we hit kind of like a plateau, like a climax, because while we were growing up, I think I remember seeing like the first flat screen TV. Because then like TVs started getting smaller and smaller. They got like
Right.
more and more compact, and then like even YouTube. I remember when YouTube wasn't even big, and like now look at it now,
Yeah.
and just watching everything evolve and change from what like my little sister has now compared to what I had her age. That was a giant gap. Now AI is introduced, and we thought that AI is going to take a bit longer because we kind of hit the peak.
Sure.
But we see AI evolving just as fast too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like what our kids are gonna live through is completely different than what we've had. And I didn't think that it would go that fast,
Yeah, very much so. Let me comment on that. I'm going to restart the camera and then we'll come back. All right, good job, sir. I think we're almost an hour in
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
already.
So my whole segment with that with AI was that I wanted to go into art because I
Oh,
love
okay.
I love anime. I love like shows. I love like the way that characters are written.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just I love how movies and stuff used to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for a while I was really disappointed with like, wait, are you into Marvel at all?
I mean, up until Endgame,
Up
you know,
until
I
then.
was there throughout my like childhood and
Okay, cool.
teen years, I watching it generally, but even then, I was still kind of lost with some of the story at times.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So some of my favorite Marvel movies would be like the Iron Man trilogy, and like the way superheroes are meant to be used is that superheroes and their villains are meant to be a metaphor for like a real like a struggle that people face in their everyday lives. So Iron Man 1 kind of follows the struggles of your past. How Tony Stark like he has this redemption moment, but now he has to face like all these weapons and stuff that was created due to his past self. Kind of like how even if you become a better person tomorrow, you still have to deal with the sins of your past. And then Iron Man 2 dealt with addiction. Because then he needed like a cure for his arc reactor, if you remember that. And then like it was going through like finding different like channels of it, like Pepper finding out about it, and then everyone intervening and stuff. And then Iron Man 3 dealt with like I think it was PTSD, maybe. Porter, do you know?
What's up?
Was Iron Man 3 having to deal with PTSD?
It's been a long time since I've seen it. Potentially, yeah.
That's okay.
There'd be a lot of reasons to have PTSD.
I think so. But
Yeah.
yeah, Iron Man 3 was about like PTSD. Oh, that's right, because he meets that little kid. And then like he goes on this journey of like starting over again. And it's just like it's so nice to have film that's symbolic because when you look at stuff like that, you don't really look into like the greatness of them. You look into the humanity within them and how that connects to you. Have you watched The Chosen?
I have watched The Chosen.
So
yeah,
the thing
up
that
to
I
date.
love about perfect, me too. The thing that I love about Chosen is the way
Except for the movies, that they're the ones
The
that
most
came out
recent
in
ones?
the. Yeah,
That
I
makes
haven't
sense.
seen the one
Oh,
in the
okay.
movie theaters. Yeah.
I actually fun fact. so so it was the Wednesday before Holy Thursday, and I had like one class, and I texted my classmate like, should I even come today? And they're like, no, you're good, just stay home. So instead, I went to the theaters and I binged all three of the movies for
Oh,
The
wow.
Chosen. So I was there for a total of like maybe like how much, like 8 to 9 hours.
Oh, jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I was like the only one there, but I met an Anglican priest in there,
Oh, wow.
and he was also binging The Chosen, and it was just really nice because I think that it's been a long time since we had like a Jesus that portrays the humanity of Jesus,
Sure.
and like I think the whole point about Christianity, like the reason why Christianity is different from other religions, is that our God was human. Not human in the way that we have flaws, but human in the way that in the ways that make us beautiful. You know what I mean?
Is it still theologically right to say he is human still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. I mean, Jesus is fully man and fully God.
Right.
Like just to avoid all the different heresies.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of like heresies that say like either God was fully God, but he took on the appearance of mankind, but that doesn't really follow. Like, I think the beauty of having Jesus be fully God and fully man kind of elevates our suffering as well as our joys. So every moment that Jesus like celebrates with his friends at the wedding feast, right? We think of like, wow, like Jesus was like having fun with his friends, drinking wine together, dancing and partying, like the scene that they portrayed in The Chosen.
Right. Right.
And when we do the same with our peers, it kind of brings us to like this feeling of wow, like God made us for joy. Like this joy exists because it was something that God intentionally placed for us. And Jesus being human related to that joy as well. So it helps us to relate to him there. And when we suffer, we are able to like kind of relate to his suffering. Like never to the degree of his suffering, but Jesus also mourned. Jesus wept, right? That one, like the shortest Bible line. And it's just like from the last log, or was it AC? The last AC theme was heart to heart, right?
Yeah, that was Heart to Heart. Heart Speaks to
Heart
Heart
Speaks to
was
Heart.
Log's winter retreat
Yeah, yeah.
theme. Yeah.
Yeah, heart speaks to heart. And it's just like, I think at the core of it, like, the reason why Jesus is such a big figure is because just that heart speaks to heart. Like, how it's hard to like relate to a character like Zeus, right? Like they have flaws, but their flaws are like massively there, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I was gonna comment on that with when you brought up the Marvel superheroes because in some sense they're kind of like the myths and stories of the ancient Greece
yeah,
and
yeah,
maybe even ancient Egyptians and just the different pantheons, right? Because they do represent different struggles that humanity has,
yeah.
and that's the
Yes.
difference with their god. Is like, yeah, while their gods did have human struggles as well, they also sin. They what separates Jesus from that is that Jesus was perfect though, and he
Yeah,
didn't sin. He still had
exactly.
temptations and the struggles that were there, but he didn't sin and whatnot. That's what separates that.
Exactly.
But the Marvel stories of today are reminiscent of those Greek mythological stories, and they do teach some lessons.
I agree.
Like the lessons. Who's the one that like Prometheus? Who like was he the one
Fire?
who?
I told the one who flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Hermes, was that Hermes?
no, I think it was, I forgot his name.
Apollo.
I don't think it's Apollo either.
Yeah, whoever flew too close to the
Yeah.
sun, stuff like that. Those little short moral
Short moral
stories,
stories.
they're definitely important still and whatnot.
100%.
But there's a there's a good truth to it, and there's other deeper truth that can be found in Christianity as well.
Yes, 100%. I think it's important to remember that like Jesus, like although he faced the same temptations, he didn't have like original sin the way we did. So before we're talking about Saint Augustine, like the concupiscence is like what he coined as the inclination to sin. Like we're drawn to sin. Jesus never necessarily had that, which is why I thought the story of Jesus spending the 40 days in the desert was really like I never understood it until this year, because we hear it during Lent. And
Enlighten me.
so when Jesus spends the 40 day in the desert, the temptations that he faces are of are the three. I forgot. Okay, I might be wrong here, Porter. You can correct me if you think so. But it's like he faced temptations of like the flesh in the sense that he needed food. So our temptation of the flesh is a little bit different because we're drawn to different things. Then he faced temptations of the world when Satan offered the world, and then he faced temptations of the devil when he was like worship me. I think. Okay, we'll come back to this if that's. But I think that like Jesus spent that 40 days in order for him to understand the temptations that we as humans face in order for him to start his journey, because that's all before. And like he didn't need to do that, but the fact that he humbled himself down to the lowest humanity could like face, it allowed him to start that journey later on. Like we see this with the prophets, like Elijah, I forgot where he was traveling to, but he was stuck in the desert for a while and he starts complaining. He's like, God, like kill me now, this is too much. And then God's like, stop being dramatic, I'll give you like food and shelter, just eat and have a nap and you'll be good to go. Kind of like that thing where like all of us, we all hit a low point in our lives before we're truly ready to start like causing change.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never really looked into into that part of the 40 days in the desert. I remember hearing another enlightening thing kind of like that, but there's a lot to that story for sure, and a lot to understand. I like that you did bring up this the three temptations. I never really thought about it in that sort of sense. I know there's like I've kind of thought about like, okay, I know there's like temptations of pride, temptations of like just the different sins that you could give into, but Jesus was perfect in that, and kind of like how we were mentioning earlier, with him being human, that's a manner that like, and I love how The Chosen portrays it, because you see it in a more visually relatable manner, and you understand that like, okay, I'm not perfect. My God is perfect. I'm sinned. I sin. I have flaws, but like through Him, I can find the strength. Through Him, I can find the patience, the grace to get through life, and that's kind of a part of life in itself, is that like the matter of fact is there's going to be struggles in life, and there's going to be suffering, and the key to happiness is to accept that there will be suffering in life. And Jesus never came down and said, "Oh, follow me, and you're going to be happy," or "Follow
Yeah.
me, and you're going to be rich,"
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that. He actually says, "Follow me, and you're going to have a pretty bad time
Yeah.
sometimes."
It's like your brothers, your brothers and your parents will turn against you,
Yeah.
and it's just so interesting. Like this religion is like, oh, it's okay. I'm just attacking like the prosperity gospel aspect of it, because it's the complete opposite, right? Because they go like, oh, like if you follow God and like you give us this much money, like you give to us and God will give back, and your lives will be wonderful if God loves you. And then it's like Jesus said that like if you follow me and you follow me well, the world's gonna hate you. You're gonna be poor. But you'll be happy, It's just like your life's gonna suck, like for all the apostles, right? I saw this meme around a while ago. I think it's Comedy Central, someone that did it, but it's they're like how atheists think the apostles acted after Jesus died.
Oh yes.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
And they're like, we're gonna steal his body and we're gonna say that he resurrected. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, and then what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna go all around the world and we're gonna preach about him. And then they're like, yeah. And someone's gonna say, wait, but then like, what do we get out of this? Well, get this. We're gonna be brutally murdered.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, but we're gonna get like money or like women first, right? It's like, no, we're gonna die poor, alone, and then brutally murdered.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that one. It was so funny, but it makes a very real point.
100%.
It's like it gives to some truth to whatever happened 2,000 years ago, because the fact of the matter is something did happen. And what's interesting to me is that we will be living in that time of like a 2,000-year anniversary
100%.
of what did happen, and something happened, and for people, maybe there was a man named Jesus, but as Christians, of course, we believe that that man was fully human and fully God. And God sent his only son to through his life, death, and resurrection, purchase for us the rewards of eternal life. Yes. And that's something that brings me peace. That's something that brings me grace in my work and in my vocation and like what I'm here to do. And things are going to be hard in life. You will find struggle. You will find pain. And that's just the human condition. That's just the fact of life. But you don't have to do it alone, and you can do it with God, and you can do it with the community that reflects that light as well. We are the light of the world. Sorry, I don't know the rest of it. But the idea is that we're a light unto the world, but we're also a light unto ourselves, and when we come together, we reflect the face of Jesus in our actions.
100%. Like I think like the metaphor that everyone sees it is like fire, right? Like when you put two candles together, the fire burns brighter. I feel like the road to Emmaus, I think, was it, where it's like were our hearts not on fire when we were like talking with them again. And you're 100% right. I think there is definitely something deeply comforting in the fact that knowing that like our God longs for us, and that our God loves us, and that despite our sinfulness, our God is waiting for us to come back to him. I think like definitely like there is a sense the way I grew up and the way like a lot of like Asian American kids grew up is that our love is very conditional of like our parents. The way we learn like, oh, if you get good grades, then like our parents will praise us. If we get bad grades, our parents will beat us. Joking. And so on and so forth, right? Where it's like you get this level of reward for this level of work.
Yeah.
But our Lord there goes like I love you. Like the work isn't required of you. I'm here with open arms. Like, do you love me too? And the way we love him back is to do the work. The similar to like how if your parents asked you to do something and you refuse to do it, could you say that like you love them if you never want to do anything they asked you to do? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Because like if your child is like, I don't want to wash the dishes, are you going to stop loving them because they didn't want to wash the dishes? But if they were to do stuff like that, you would feel more loved because you see the works that they do to make you, to kind of please you, right?
You would you definitely would feel more love if they do it. And And even if you do discipline them to a healthy extent to get them to do the dishes, that act is also out of love,
exactly.
because you know that you want them to be a fruitful person when they grow up.
100%.
And of course, don't discipline them harshly or in
Yeah.
a manner, and
Discipline them with love.
right. And then I love it. It's from Ephesians. Let me pull my Bible out so
Nice.
I can read it right. I brought it because I thought I might need it. I'm a big Ephesians guy. I loved Ephesians when I was going off into community college and kind of becoming my own independent person and whatnot.
Gotcha.
I was like, okay, I want to start reading the Bible. For whatever reason, Ephesians sounded interesting to me, and to me, I realized like, wow, Ephesians is such a great guide of like daily conduct and like how you want to approach religion. But with regards to your family, and that's one of my favorite parts is that there's a whole chapter on family, and I hope it's in here. Maybe I'm talking about it wrong. Let's see. I think it's actually.
I love your note-taking Bible. I was gonna get one because I always feel bad about writing in my other Bibles. Like I never do it because it feels weird. But if I get one of these, maybe I can finally highlight.
I don't use it to note take or highlight at all because for me, I like to keep it in pristineness, which goes against wabi sabi because you're not supposed to do that. But part of it is also like when I come back to a verse, I don't want to be limited to what I thought at that time.
Yeah.
The living word is supposed to
you.
live in you, and it's always going to be different every time you approach it. So I don't like writing in it because I don't want to see what I was thinking at one time. I want to come into it fresh. Though I do sometimes I take notes on my computer when reading it. But one of it is, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up with the training and instruction of the Lord. And it's that same idea is also, I think, echoed in Corinthians at times, Galatians maybe. But it's the idea that as parents, we have to love them, and sometimes we do things that they don't want, but we know is good for them, and we do it out of love. But on the extreme end of it, don't discipline them in such a manner that it a word that they use I think in a different letter was like, don't discourage them, in your actions, because then they're not going to want to respect you. You're going to cause them to not follow the fourth commandment, and so love them appropriately, and don't discourage them with like unfair. I'm not a parent, so I'm not sure, but. I hope at some point I will be. So I kind of take that all to mind and whatnot. Yeah.
I agree.
Earlier you brought up, the gift of joy, and kind of going back, even back to what we're talking about, a little bit of like our vocations or where we find a lot of happiness. I was telling you about how Lawanik did the bake sale and whatnot, and so I wanted to just kind of share this with you when you brought it up, and I thought about it. This was a little narrative I had made about the bake sale, and maybe
I saw this. I loved it. I loved your work, by the way. Did you do it?
I did. I did it all.
But yeah, let's go through it.
Yeah, and honestly, this is like a reminder for me and for future podcasts. I need to get a connector so that everyone can kind of see what we're talking about back here.
Like stream this on there.
Yeah.
Or you can just have it like pop up. You can edit it in.
I totally can. The theme for me is I want to limit the amount of editing I need to do. But yeah, this is a panel, a narrative. I put here in the description. I want to share a story of my experience with the recent bake sale at St. John Henry Newman, and our mission to love and serve our community this quarter. We hope to pay forward God's blessings by communities that need us the most. To love and to serve, Lawana Bake Sale Edition. What's crazy too is the connection between us lifting this table and God's grace lift us. I didn't even realize that was there.
Oh my God!
Until after I'm like, wait, there's another connection here, and it's for everything too.
Yeah.
But I didn't even think about it. It just fell into place.
Crazy.
So
the way the Holy Spirit works.
Yeah, it was weird, right? But God's grace lifts us, right? Preparing for the sale required a lot of time and effort put in by many members of our community. It can be exhausting to organize an event, but God's grace allows us to pull through with patience and charity. Yeah. And that was something that I was struggling with a lot, is that Like we were baking for maybe 6 or 8 hours on
Oh
Saturday,
my
and it
gosh.
was just a lot of work. We made 30 matcha cookies and 24
Did you
muffins.
have like a industrial oven, or did you
No, I
just?
just do it all
Oh
here.
my gosh,
But
that takes
and we
forever.
also made some brownies as well. And we're just kind of, I don't know if it took 8 hours, but it felt like maybe definitely at least 6 hours I think it took just to kind of get it all. And we took a break to go to mass and whatnot. But
You did
it's
this all in the same day?
yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Well,
that's crazy.
we served it on the next day,
Oh,
but
gotcha,
we
gotcha.
prepared for it the day before, and it's a lot,
That
and
is a lot.
it's a reflection of like,
What's the next slide?
yeah. I was just
Oh,
commentating on this
cool,
one
cool.
more. My bad. But there's gonna be things in life that come up, and it's through God's grace that I say we find the patience and charity to approach these things and to do them with love. And those are, of course, I'm trying to highlight the fruits of the Holy Spirit there.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, and
I know I caught that. I was like, good job. I was like,
yeah, that's kind of the point of it there. But to approach things with humility and to allow God to work through you. And if things are hard, you're gonna find that grace to do it. So God's grace lifts us up. And there's a photo of us lifting up a table. I had no idea that connection was there until after. So look at this next connection, the gift of serving. And I had a photo of serving. To be honest, I didn't even think about that at the time. Maybe this one was a little more obvious. Maybe it was kind of going in my mind, but then I'm like, oh shoot, like each title kind of references the photo. But when the hour comes, meeting face to face with the community that supports us with kindness and generosity, we experience one of God's greatest gifts, which is joy. And once you're there in that moment, kind of what you've been working so hard to, even though you kind of want to crash out and rest after all the hard
yeah,
work, like God's grace just gives you that feel, that energy. And once you see the joy on these people's faces,
yeah.
like it's just so beautiful, and it lifts you up even more, and you want to be there for
The
that community.
fulfillment.
It's so fulfilling. And we're meeting so many families. There's this one family where the guy's talking to us and he's juggling his little kid around his whole body, kind of like nunchucks,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
the
yeah.
kid's just kind of playing around and whatnot, and he's just talking to us. But when you meet someone and they're just like the happiest people you've ever meet, and they're living out the way that God wanted us to live, and it brings us so much joy when we meet face to face. And then the last side is Lamonic's mission. Serving the community is beautiful, and it brings us so much joy, but we are not done. We hope to forward God's blessings to the communities that need it the most. Thank you for your support in the Bake Sale. So just a narrative of I wanted to share the fruits that I realized from this opportunity, and I wanted to share that and inspire other people to kind of go through with similar missions.
That's beautiful. I think that's really good. Actually, you just gave me an idea, so I have to put that in my back pocket. I think reflections like that are really important, especially for these types of community events, because sometimes people serve, because you're right. There is something about serving that brings us joy, but not a lot of people spend the time to reflect on the actual aspects of that.
Sure.
For instance, churches might host events for the youth to do ministry work and serve the community. But I definitely think we should make posts like that after those events too. We're kind
Yeah.
of reflecting on it, tying it back.
I've never really been one to reflect on much things, to be honest. I know I should take more time to reflect maybe on my day, and prayer at the
Yeah.
end of the day is a bit of that, and I should do a better job of making intentional time for it, because sometimes
I know
I,
you feel
I
that's
don't.
hard.
But for sure, reflection is very important, and that's something that I'm trying to incorporate more, and realizing that in doing so, publicly, I don't want to boast or
Yeah,
take pride in what we
100%.
do, but for me, I thought that reflection was so important for me, and I thought maybe that can inspire some other people a little bit as well.
I think it's very humble. It actually comes from of the sense of how a king lives to serve. Kind of through your service you were fulfilled, and you're thanking the community for giving you this chance to feel that joy again. Kind of how the king lives for people, and the king thanks his people for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
chance to serve
for
them.
sure.
Definitely that type of thing where it's we're called to serve, and we're blessed for this opportunity to serve. Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm not entirely humble, because I signed it off by saying by Lorenzo and the Luana community, But the reason I put my name was not because of the fruits that I'm trying to take pride in. I just really like the graphic design I did.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
want
yeah.
people to know I did the
No,
graphic
makes
design
sense,
because I
makes
love graphic design and like
No,
that's something
100%.
that
It's
I
very
take
well
passion
done.
in. And so that's the only reason why I did it.
What did you do that on, by the way?
Canva. It
Okay,
was on
that's what I
Canva.
thought. It
And
looked really good.
this one here, I'll give a quick, I'll kind of show it as well. This was when the Pope got, where'd it go? This is when the Pope, new Pope got elected. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but just kind of a simple post. I was sitting here with Porter and Michael, our music min director, and
I've never seen this angle of him too, by the way.
yeah. I was almost worried it wasn't him because I'm like, does it?
Is that him?
I hope so. I'm not sure. It kind of didn't look like him,
It kind
but
of doesn't look like him.
yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay, cool.
But when I pulled up the photo of him, I went to the source site and they were saying it was him.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm like, I don't know. I didn't question it.
The funny story about that too is that at the Diocese of Orange, because I had a connection. Sorry, I'm looking at a picture so we can compare to see if it looks the same. But
Oh yeah.
I heard that.
Imagine it's not him.
I know that'd be so funny.
I'll say 250 people did not care.
But up at the diocese, they were ready to like make a post about the new pope. So they made like I think he said it was like a couple hundred maybe 50 to a couple hundred, different posts of like congratulations or like our new pope and have like the face and the name of the new pope. And actually when Pope Leo walked out, they were like, "Who's this? We don't have this guy." So then they rushed to make a new post for him.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think it's good. About the new pope, everyone around me has been talking. Oh, who do you think is going to be the new pope? Who do you think is going to be the new pope? And that conversation has gotten so like repetitive for me because I keep saying like it's not up for us to decide. Because people love. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of companies were placing bets on the new pope.
I heard about it.
Yeah, every like sports betting website I think had an option for you to vote or like bet on the new pope. And I'm just like, that's so human of us. I think it's funny, but I don't think it's something that like we should have like actively been doing, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like the role of the Pope, right, as the vicar of Christ is like chosen and anointed and like it's not for us to decide.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
Sure.
That was funny. So I kept saying, like, watch it be some obscure cardinal you've never even heard of, and there you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
I guess I win this one.
So we're coming back into this. I just wanted to show you this post as well. I made this like right as he was coming out, and I was getting together all the graphics. I'm just into graphic design. So
How did you get this info so fast? Wait, when did you post this?
I posted this probably about an hour after he came out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, immediately once he came out, we looked into his life and we found things about him. And Michael helped to come up with all of this, but I was just kind of putting it all together. And so that's him. And I'm looking at his nose.
Oh yeah, there you go. I know, like.
And I feel like the nose is good.
It looks different.
You think so?
Go back to see how this has like an arch right there. I don't really see the arch right there.
Yeah. I think it's a different guy, huh?
I think it's a different guy.
Dude, no one
said anything.
noticed.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, well, look here. I'll show you where I got it, and maybe I'm wrong. Robert, what's his name? Cardinal Robert.
Right there.
Provost. Yeah, maybe he was a different guy, dude. That'd be real embarrassing.
Cause they have a side profile of him, right? Like he doesn't have the arch in his nose either.
Look,
Oh wait, what?
like other people say it too. But that's the photo I kind of found. Not this one, but it was from a different news article. But they're saying it too with that same photo. It was
Maybe it isn't.
like this.
Oh. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, look,
I mean,
yeah,
okay.
for sure.
I guess
for sure.
it's probably him. It's
It
probably
can't be
him.
me.
I know. No, imagine if like whole half of the media got it wrong. this whole
Right, yeah,
time.
yeah.
My goodness.
I don't blame you because I'm like, is it him? And
Wow.
they're like, yeah, I think so. So I'm like, okay.
You know, I guess it's a Superman effect because we see him with glasses. He takes it off. That photo doesn't have him. We
Yeah,
don't know
because he
who
looks a
is.
little more, I don't know. He doesn't, because he is he Hispanic a little bit or no?
I
Or is
don't
he
know.
fully white? I know he worked in
don't know.
Peru.
Well, he's from Chicago. Chicago's pretty mixed.
What's
What's it like ethnicity?
ethnicity? Creole people from New Orleans?
Oh, cool.
Spanish, maybe?
Yeah.
French,
Spanish.
Italian, something like that.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's really fruitful that we have like a pope, like, cause, I was talking to, well, at my house, my brother's seminarian, so we have like priests and monsignors come over and talk, and then one of the things they said was that it's fruitful that like the pope came from Chicago out of everywhere, because Chicago is a very like diverse pool of Americans, and it has like if America truly is like a melting pot or what or like that analogy of the different people, different cultures. Chicago is definitely one of those places where you can see all of that. Have you been or no?
I've never been to Chicago. The closest I've been has been Cincinnati
Oh, okay.
in Ohio, but all the youngsters in Ohio drive to Chicago to have a good time because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing going on
That
for
makes
two
sense in
states.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, I haven't been to Chicago. I was supposed to apply there for college at the University of Chicago because they have a strong business program,
That's
but
right,
I
they
just
do.
never ended up finding myself there yet. But I don't know. Yeah,
Oh,
you've been?
I've been once with my cousins and stuff. It was like a fun little cousins trip
Oh,
because
cool.
I have family who lives over there too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they showed us around. It was really cool. It's amazing. I think it's funny because like the area that their house is in is like in the middle of Chicago, and then they have another house that's out in like the suburbs, and it's completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have to do American cities justice. I will say though that once I went to Japan, I kind of feel like American cities just do not compare to
Oh,
like
I
Tokyo,
know
and I'm
what you
just like,
mean.
oh geez, well I don't want to be in an American city. I want to be in Tokyo. It's so much cooler.
That's fair.
Yeah, maybe I'm just into anime. I'm not sure. But yeah, let's see.
But yeah,
Um,
I think having an American Pope. Well, everybody, no one ever thought it would happen. Because I guess my mistake too was that like I kept viewing it from a political side, where it's like, oh, like if we have an American Pope, then America has too much power. Like America already has big military influence, and now if we have big religious influence too, like it doesn't seem
Sure.
fair. But then something that like a good friend of mine, Antoine, the good
Oh
thing
yeah.
that he pointed out is that like you can't look at it from a political perspective because Jesus wouldn't look at it from a political perspective. We have to look at who Christ wants to lead the church, not who we want to. And I'm like, okay,
Very
that's
much
fair.
so. Yeah, and I think he so far has made his pontificate intentional,
Yeah,
right?
agree.
From the beginning, from the name choice and how he said he got to that name, wanting to address the problems that we do have of AI and other things that are going on. I think he said like the Tower of Babel in our age or something.
Oh, I
Was
didn't see
even
that.
something that he might have used. I could be misquoting
I
that,
need to I
but
need to read it.
yeah, but yeah, and so you can see there's definitely intention in his pontificate, and Pope Francis had that too, very much so,
Yeah.
with a lot of humanitarian and ministry to people outside the church and inside and on the fringes and wherever, and I think this pontificate will be very intentional, and you can see that in his actions. And though he comes from America, I don't think. I
Well,
don't think any of that's too much been at the
yeah, I
center.
don't think it's too much. Like his main ministry has always been in Peru.
Sure. Yeah.
And like his like most of his life is like worked as a missionary, so I think that it's really good. I think he has American roots, and like through his ministry, through his works, it's like the best of what America is like called to be. We don't really see that too much anymore, but like America was like called to be like the place where you come to like build your future, and then you go back and you give out. You like you bring others that same type of joy and success that you have.
For sure.
I think the beautiful thing about the new pope is that his whole like mission from like day one was about unity. He wants to like reunite the Catholic Church, because like Catholics, like we always give Protestants a lot of like slack for like we always like make fun of them having like thousands of denominations, and the Catholic Church right now at a time like at certain times is a little divided too upon like, oh, like I like the TLM, I don't like the TLM, I hate this in the Novus Ordo, and it's like at the end of the day like we gotta stop nitpicking and all these things, because at the end of the day it's not the way we perform a mass that saves us. It's the fact that Jesus Christ implemented the mass. And through the authority of his councils, his bishops, and what we celebrate, we're able to be in front of the true presence and to receive the same sacrament. Like that it's those sacraments that give us that grace.
Sure.
It's not the way we do it.
Right, exactly. I don't know exactly the phrase that it is. I think Porter was telling me about it. But we're a universal church, and
Yeah.
I think Michael was bringing it up. We're a universal church, and There's different allowable ways that we can approach our liturgies, or maybe I don't know if that's the correct term, or
Yeah,
just different ways we can
liturgies.
approach different aspects of our religion while not breaking any canon law or anything. And so we're not supposed to be
Exactly.
one, like, we're supposed to have unity, but we're not supposed to have uniformity or
Exactly.
something. I
Exactly.
think
Well,
that's,
okay, that makes sense.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
what you
Like,
mean.
it's not supposed to be the same exact thing across all cultures. There's
Yeah.
a beauty in the difference of all of our cultures, and we can approach the way we can do it. Of course, in line with dogma and law still.
Yeah.
But there's different cultural ways that you can approach it. I
Agreed.
think that's
Agreed.
beautiful.
Yeah. It's I think to like bring it back to the Pope would be like and to like appeal to like Italians would be that like pasta.
Yeah.
Right, because pasta has so many different ways it can be expressed, but at the root of it, pasta is still pasta.
Yeah, yeah, and make sure to salt it heavily when
Yeah.
it's still in its
When
water.
it's still in the water,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Should be
does
tasting like
our
the ocean.
does our Italian here
Yeah.
can you concur? Do you concur?
I concur.
He concurs.
Yeah. Let's see. Was there any other topics that you wanted to address? I know we got into AI pretty early
Yeah.
on. I really loved I really love this conversation that we've been having so far, because I feel like most of the guests I've brought on, we kind of had to really like set kind of like topics that we were talking about, or like it wouldn't really like focused on like one or two themes, and we started the conversation so like everywhere. We're talking about husbandry, and then Animal Crossing, and then AI, and now the church and whatnot.
I think that it's a very nice like it's a quick like this is who I am, you know.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
I have a lot of like different hobbies, and I love learning, and I love like doing things. So like I jump around a lot too.
Yeah, me
So
too.
the fact that we were given the freedom to just sit here and like talk, it was very nice, because it's like, oh, like a part of me loves talking about this, and a part of me loves talking about that. I think it's really nice because in the uniformity that we have at school, it's always just, hey, what's your major? And you're like stuck code switching into that specific category
Sure.
like for so long in your life, and it's nice to be able to have the freedom to jump back and forth, you know.
Of course, yeah. I know, yeah, I have a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, like your podcast is cool. Like, I love that you talk about Christianity. I'm like, dude, you do not know the guests that I want to have on this podcast. Like, I started this podcast to talk about, I still yet have talked about UFOs. I've yet to talk
That's
about the
right.
pyramids.
We have
I've
to get
yet
back to
talk
that.
about
We
Bigfoot.
have to get back to that. I
I've
would
yet to
love
talk
to.
about anime in a really deep extent.
The
So
conspiracies go hard.
I'm having too many serious people on, you know? No, I'm just kidding. No, I want to, of course, the podcast is to talk about everything. I'm really happy to talk about religion as well, and to express, my religious faith too. And I've had a great opportunity to do that with my guests so far. And
But there's more to us than that.
there is more. Yeah,
Like I love talking about the faith, but it's like I can also talk about anything else too. Cause like it's funny because a lot of my college friends or high school friends, they're like, oh yeah, he's like all about church now, and they don't even know what to ask me about. They're like, oh, so how's church? I guess. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I can talk about like a million other things.
Right. Yeah, I definitely do know that people like that who. It's great to center your life around God,
Yeah,
and
100%.
to live that out through like actual like your day-to-day life. And also I want to watch sorry, what's an anime I can say? Not an out of pocket anime.
When he says that, all I think about is the animes he can't say.
Right.
Turning.
Well, just like the stupid anime titles and all of that. You know,
Yeah.
But
Did you
know,
see
Refrigerator turned into a cat.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
The guy hit by a bus reincarnated as a vending machine.
Yes, I saw the first 2 minutes of that, and I was like, okay, I will stop watching this. But yeah. It's fun to also have those interests, and I have so many interests. You know, I started this podcast to talk about UFOs and pyramids, but and like ancient history, but also like I need to find people who are into like biology, ecology. I love
those
biogeography. I love talking about that. So I need to find like bio majors who
Actually,
are like.
there was something that me and my brother were discussing a while ago,
Yeah.
and I wanted to get your opinion on it. But you know how the CIA has like confirmed alien activity? Like they confirmed that aliens do exist. That like we have had visitors and stuff.
How so? Like, in what ways have they confirmed it? Like, because I know the Pentagon released like
They
the
released the
files. So
files.
like, they confirm unidentified aerial phenomenon, right? As to what is causing that.
So like my whole thing was that going forward from that,
Sure.
like let's say that there is alien life and that does exist. How does that look in the aspect of Christianity? Can
Sure.
aliens be saved?
Well, I think obviously God is infinite in his ability and what he wants to do. If Jesus also appeared in whatever manner that he wanted to for an infinite amount of other alien civilizations out there, then I think that's totally possible. And in God's ability, I don't think it changes anything for us here. I think we'll continue to live out our life here. And if aliens do show up all of a sudden, I honestly don't. Part of me doesn't think it will happen, because I don't think it's in like the whole theodrama of salvation. I'm not sure if that's there.
That makes sense.
So with regards to some of the alien activity that's out there, I've heard people talk about it being angels and demons and maybe a manifestation
have heard
of
that
like
too.
some of these spirits, different spirits that. So I'm not sure. My take on it.
Dang, but if you're saying aliens are spirits, Scientology got it right. And if you're saying the aliens are gods, then the Mormons got it right.
Well, that's not what I'm saying though. I don't think they're aliens, but what I do know is that, or at least what I do think is like all these like videos of like the Pentagon showing like different crafts and whatnot. I think that's just us.
I like it.
And I
That makes
think
sense.
that we've made advancements in technology secretly behind closed doors. Though I will admit there is a huge narrative that a lot of this technology was gifted to us by who knows what's out there. And I do find it interesting that ancient civilizations across many cultures have maybe narratives where humans are engineered by heavenly beings,
You're right, I
right?
have
You
seen
see
that
that in a Mesopotamian culture, the Anunnaki. Are you familiar with Anunnaki?
No, tell me a bit more.
I don't know if I can recall it a whole lot, but and I might get this wrong, but there's an idea that there's like a planet X, right? Or another planet that these heavenly beings came from, and they found monkeys probably or something, and they genetically altered. This is where we get the made in God's image kind of thing, where they've genetically altered humanity to be a little bit more advanced, and this is why we have this divide between us and our conscious beings, and then the monkeys and apes that still roam the world, and that this is kind of like some explanation for that. So I do find it interesting that a lot of cultures talk about this, and and all cultures obviously point towards something greater, right? And so whether there's a purely scientific explanation that this is aliens and they're checking in on us, I don't know, but I do find it very interesting.
Yeah, me too. I find it really fun to talk about.
Of course.
And then people everyone keeps bringing up the apocalypse too, and it's so funny. Because the apocalypse as like they know it is quite different than the apocalypse that like Jesus kind of was called to and foreshadows. Because like we know that God promised that he wouldn't destroy the earth after Noah. So like that whole hellfire raining down and stuff is a little different than you think. Like we know that the when Jesus comes, it's a renewal of a new heaven and a new earth. But like everybody loves seeing it with destructive imagery. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know. So if these aliens are like those angels and demons coming, like I wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah. I really don't know what to make of it, because part of it's like, okay, it does seem like we are making advances in some kind of technology that the general public doesn't know about. Was that just because we had the Manhattan Project in the 50s and the 60s that's been developing these things? I've heard, are you familiar with Bob Lazar? Have you heard of him?
That name sounds really familiar.
He's the guy who worked at Area S4, which was a real...
And he like went online, right? And he like gave a full expose.
Maybe Area S4 isn't confirmed. I want to say maybe it is confirmed, but this was before Area 51 was even mentioned as like being confirmed, or really being a theme. But it's Site 4. It's not at Area 51. It's another part where the government owns federal land, but it's away from it. But he claims to have worked on 9 different or he worked on one craft, but he knew that they had 9 different crafts, and it was basically gravity propulsion.
Oh, wow.
Bending of gravity. Imagine
Dang, bending of
a
gravity is
blanket,
wild.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Imagine a
because that's what
blanket,
gravity, how it
and then
works.
you put a ball in it, right? And it bends.
The
So
massive
the idea
bends.
is that you're not ejecting any fuel, but you are kind of creating energy to distort gravity wherever you want. So you're gonna fall into where you want to go.
That's
So
crazy.
you're like kind of creating maybe a fake. Maybe I'm getting what he was describing wrong, but for me, how I understood is that you're folding the gravity around you so that you fall into it, and that's how you start. That's how you travel, and that's
Crazy.
why like
That's like a form of, it would be a form of teleportation, like teleportation, right?
not necessarily teleportation as like you get from one point to another. The idea is that like you just don't have to have any fuel in the sense that you're not pushing out anything to propel yourself, but you're creating a field where you fall into that field continuously in any direction that you want to go.
Interesting.
And so he claims to have seen this craft work, and he was actually he was kicked off the project because supposedly his wife was having an affair, and they don't, the government doesn't want any like home life interruptions
Yeah, yeah.
when you're working with them supposedly, and so ultimately the FBI kind of shut him down because he took out friends to
look
a
at the
hilltop because he knew that every Wednesday they would fly these crafts, and this was before the government did a huge land grab around Area
That makes
51.
sense. That makes sense.
And so you were able to get a lot closer to these sites, but then after all this, there was a huge land grab. But what's
It's
interesting,
all his fault we couldn't see it. I'm just
right?
kidding.
Right? Yeah. What's interesting is like there's certain things that he brings up in his story that weren't existent at the time that eventually come to exist.
Yeah.
He says like at one point, in order to get into like this was back in the 80s, in order to get into the facility you had to put your hand on a thing and it would scan or some sort of thing,
Yeah.
and like we didn't have that kind of bone scan at the time in the 80s or something, but and then it later came out like in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that crazy
publicly.
though? Like I even remember there's a big movie called Monsters versus Aliens. Do you remember
Right.
that?
Yeah.
And they had like the eye scan and like the hand scan and everything. They made a joke out of it, and we have that now too. Like
Right.
thumbprint now, even Face ID is kind of
Right.
wild. You know?
Yeah, that you could even talk about like theories into like why we have those kind of cinemas or films. Like, are they trying to like
Yeah,
expose us to
100%.
something like slowly over time? There's that whole
my
part
gosh.
to it as well. I'm not sure. But yeah, when it comes to the whole UFO subject,
Dang, if that's so, then
I'm skeptical. I
you
don't
know,
know.
like now that you mention it, you're right. If the government is like exposing us to stuff like that over time, we've been seeing characters like Homelander a lot. Are you familiar with The Boys on Amazon Prime?
I don't. No. Let me see.
So in The Boys, there's a character named Homelander. He was basically like a government experimented Superman who they created.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've seen Porter watch this. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of other shows now too where it's like government experimented like superheroes who like turn evil, or like and it's just like, wow. Like, do you think the government's experimenting on people?
Well, the CIA definitely did with MK Ultra.
Yeah, I remember
You're
MK
familiar
Ultra,
with MK
yeah,
Ultra,
MK
yeah. They were bringing in, as I could be getting the story wrong, but they're
It's funny how like people are saying that MK Ultra is the reason why like there was such a huge psychedelic movement, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, it
is.
It was just a couple blocks down from UC Berkeley, right,
Yeah.
or something like that. And so they set up this brothel. The CIA set up a brothel. Guys were coming in, and they would essentially just drug all these people on LSD because they were trying to figure out a mind control method.
Yeah, yeah.
And these people are just being fried on LSD, and I don't think it's any secret that psychedelics and the LSD movement came out of the Bay Area in San
Yeah.
Francisco because that's where it was happening, and obviously you can't, at least as far as we know, we can't control people with LSD, but I'm not entirely convinced that the CIA just stopped doing that all of a sudden. I think there's
100%.
they might still
And-
be doing stuff like that.
Like we see in media, like you said, there's like so many versions of truth serum. I think they succeeded.
Oh,
I
you
think they
think so?
succeeded.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, if the CIA found like truth serum, it would make it so that they could get information out of the enemies without needing to torture in a way that would go against
Sure.
the Geneva Conventions. You
Sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, dang, that's crazy.
Yeah. Are you familiar with astral projection?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Are
heard of
you
that.
familiar that the CIA was kind of involved with that heavily and
I did not.
had
I didn't
yeah
hear
they
this.
have they had outlined programs investigating astral projection and Joe Rogan actually just had the guy who's kind of in charge of a lot of those programs named Hal Puthoff.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he's a real physicist and a real scientist, and he has a company today. But during the probably like the 70s through early 2000s, he was involved with the astral projection programs. And it was so interesting because they're trying to figure out scientifically what is going on here.
Yeah.
And he even brought up stories of saints that would levitate,
Yeah.
and they're trying to connect it all. But astral projection,
Like
he
Joseph of Cupertino.
yeah. He was trying to so he was trying to connect it all. We'll get into the saints part a little later if you want to talk about maybe what was going on there. But with the astral projection, he was saying that they were able to train these individuals to they were trying to spy on Soviet projects, and in one instance, they trained a guy to astral project, and they gave him the coordinates of where he needed to go, and he was able to, in his astral plane, see that the Soviets were working on a really massive submarine. I mean, beyond any length or scale that any other submarines were made at the time. And the Pentagon played it down like there's no way they have that.
Yeah.
And it's like sure enough, 2 years later, something of that same scale became a thing.
Oh my god.
Another thing. Of course, these are all stories. Sure, I don't know if you can fully corroborate it, but one thing that he was saying was before the NASA probes were reaching far onto the solar system, they actually got a guy to astral project all the way to Jupiter.
What?
Yeah, which I thought was crazy because
that
when
is
you think of
crazy.
astral projection, maybe you're thinking only within the realms of Earth.
Yeah.
But they said that they were able to go even as far as Jupiter in astral projection. And one of the ways that he corroborated, of course, we won't ever truly know if it's real or not, but he said that the guy who was astral projecting at Jupiter saw rings around Jupiter, and he reported that, and they said, maybe you're at Saturn, there's no rings around Jupiter, blah,
Oh
blah,
yeah,
blah.
they find out later.
And
there's
then,
rings around
so they bring in Carl Sagan, though, and Carl Sagan's like, yeah, there's no rings around Jupiter, and yeah, you didn't describe it right. But, of course, I think later that year, when the probe went by Jupiter, sure enough, there was a ring around Jupiter, and they're able to find that out. So they knew about it before, and so who knows if astral projection is real. I do have a friend that
Astral
has
projects?
had some interesting experiences with regards to it.
Was he
and
on
I would
drugs?
I'm sorry?
Was he on drugs?
No.
Oh.
No,
oh,
purely meditative.
Wow,
Purely
that's
meditative.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because I have heard that like people use drugs to induce that.
Sure. I could see that. I mean, let's get into that. But I'll say for him, he wasn't able to get any further outside of his room. And it would stop abruptly because of some other things that would happen. But I can't tell that story. If he ever wants to come on and tell about it, it's so hilarious. I'll tell you about it after after
it.
the
Off
podcast.
camera, off
yeah,
camera, yeah.
it's so hilarious. And I won't tell you his name just so you won't know. But
of course.
anyways, but yeah, that was his experience, and that's the experience in the CIA projects too. Is they weren't giving these people any drugs. It was a purely meditative training and whatnot. Yeah, purely meditative. And so you bring up psychedelics. What is your general thought on psychedelics, and like how you see about it?
Like, what do you mean in that?
Anything that you know about psychedelics? What's your opinion on it? Maybe like what do you think about it with regards to your faith? Yeah, what do you think about psychedelics? What's your view on it? Like if you have any religious view on it, because some people say like, oh, like it's very sinful. Never do psychedelics. You're opening up the demonic world. Like, what? How do you feel about it all?
The demonic world is interesting. Well, I guess okay. Any type of drug. Well, okay. So whether something is sinful or not, you have to go back to the base of: is this bringing me closer or further away from God? Like even when it comes to things like alcohol, like God gave us alcohol, and He like Jesus. We know Jesus drank wine. Like He allows us to, but drunkenness is a sin. The reason drunkenness is a sin is because it inhibits our conscious behavior. It makes us susceptible to sin. So, like I think certain psychedelics, I don't know if if it has that same effect of like making you susceptible to sin, but when you say opens the doors to the demonic, are you familiar with the Exorcist Files?
I am not.
Exorcist Files is a really good podcast. It's by
I think I've kind of heard about
yeah,
it.
it's really good. Don't listen to it at night. That was my mistake.
Yeah.
I tried to listen to it to go to sleep, and I didn't sleep at all that whole
yeah.
night.
I know. Yeah.
But
Been there.
but like he talks about how like things such as like imaginary friends even could open the realm for the demonic, because if you give like okay, so you know how back then they were worshiping the golden calf?
Yeah.
Like when demons see that, they would make themselves known into that object. That's why Christianity and a lot of like exorcists and stuff would say religions like Shintoism could be demonic, because you're getting like, let's say if I take like this Nintendo Switch and I say this Nintendo Switch is a god, it's the god of whatever, then a demon might see that, want that praise, want that power,
And it can ascribe itself to it.
and it can ascribe itself to it. The similar way of how if you have an imaginary friend, and you keep calling out to this imaginary friend, the demons hear you just as much as your angels do, and they could ascribe themselves to that too.
Yeah, I know in Shintoism that they call it kami.
Yeah,
and
the
they
kami.
assign a spirit to, even inanimate objects, you
Yeah,
know, but
100%.
definitely everything living as well. And there's that aspect. And it always bugs me when people say Japan is an atheistic society.
Yeah, like,
It's just that their religion is so interwoven with their culture. They don't see it as a religion. And
Exactly.
there are Japanese, especially among the youth, who've kind of fallen out of that. So I do get where that trend is going, but there's still a lot of ancestor worship or veneration or respect for certain things that beyond just an atheistic sort of approach.
100%. I know it's very very interesting how like that culturally comes out to be. You know, like like because like we just know that as paganism, right? When you have like multiple gods for different things.
Well, yeah, and animism too.
Oh, animism, yes,
as
animism
well.
as well.
Can
And
be
we see it
more
throughout the
specific.
world.
Yeah.
So there like we know that like there must be something, right? Like to create this kind of like mass what's the term? Like cult following, I would say then.
Are you familiar with the evolution of religion? Like the infographic
not
on it?
as much, but I'm actually really curious now. I actually was going to study that.
Let me
too.
show you.
That's one of the electives I can take for my next semester.
I don't know if I totally ascribe to it. It looks like this was actually put out by Columbia University at Washington. I don't know if I totally ascribe to it, but
Interesting.
it's definitely something that calls into question a little bit of like human experience, the human condition, and so let me try and pull it up if it will.
Okay.
let
And then
me.
while you're doing that, I'll just tell you a bit more about demons. So
Sure.
I think it was at AC, at one of the AC meetings, they had an exorcist there telling us stories.
Yeah, Albaka.
I don't think it was Abaka. I think it was the other one with Father C. Do you remember that? It was last year sometime. But he was saying how there's a story of a woman who saw like a dead relative
Yeah,
in the
I
dream.
remember that story very
Yeah,
well.
and then like after enough time,
Scares me to death sometimes
right?
at night still.
Isn't it wild? Yeah, I mean, I tell people about it too, and it's like the craziest thing. But it makes so much sense,
Yeah.
because when you give this much power to like this thought, like the demonic will love that because that's all they want. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's definitely scared me a little bit. I watched a Lila Rose podcast the other day where she interviewed an ex-witch and an occultist, and like I tried listening to that at night and like, okay, why did I do that and whatnot? But the witch was the ex-witch. She was explaining about her time in the occult where she was a part of the what is it called, Golden Order or something, but just an occult order, the Hermetic order. She was part of the Hermetic order,
Interesting.
where they tell you like, oh, this is kind of like Christianity, but we've been preserving a secret knowledge, you know, the gnosis, right?
Yeah, the
a
Gnostics,
secret
yeah.
knowledge that the general world doesn't know, but you've been selected to know as well, and it's bullshit, right?
Yeah,
And
Gnosticism.
she's sharing about how she's sitting here in this temple. Actually, the Knights Templar were hosting, not the Knights Templar, the Freemasons were hosting it.
yeah.
So, which is interesting. Why would a Freemason lodge be hosting this Hermetic order, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
duh.
Well,
they're-
actually, we'll
Yeah.
go into that later. But keep going.
yeah, and so anyways, so they were doing a ceremony called Eucharist. They call it the Eucharist.
Interesting.
And they're venerating, they're worshiping, actually, bowing down to a golden statue of Iris or Osiris, maybe.
Maybe.
Um,
But I know.
yeah, one of the Greek gods. There's Iris. Is it Iris? There's I know there's Isis. There's Osiris. There might be Iris too. I'm not sure. But one of those Greek gods or no, Egyptian gods, and they said this is actually a manifestation of Jesus, and so like you're giving Eucharist and this and that, and so that's why like she felt like it was okay because like, oh, this is still Christianity, but obviously it's not.
Yeah.
And she said throughout her whole life too that she was being led by a spirit that she knew to be as Thoth, which is another Egyptian god. You know, have you heard of Thoth?
I don't think I have, but
Again, you know, it's like the most common one. You know, you've seen this guy, but she said that throughout her life she was being led by this entity, and this entity was starting to make itself manifest, and she would see it a dark, shadowy figure pass in like the mirrors and in her life, and it's really scary and really eerie things. I mean, of course, with the grace of God and His love and His grace and His divine mercy, you know. There's nothing to be worried about. There's nothing to be scared about. And that's fear and anxiety comes from the devil. So there's nothing to be scared about. But of course, when you're listening to that and you're sitting in a dark room at night,
that's not gonna help out.
it doesn't help you fall asleep. But yeah.
I think that's why, like, I think the movie It, like, it definitely plays into that a little bit of how, like, your fear and your imagination of something definitely gives it the power that it needs. Like the demonic only has as much power as you ascribe it. And when you realize like how powerful Jesus is and how wonderful it is that you have His protection, then like kind of all of the demonic like tricks that they play on you is kind of like futile. It's kind of like funny.
Yeah.
It's,
I've heard that being described by, I think it's Padre Pio.
Maybe.
Was he
Oh,
the
I
one
think
he
so.
described like, it might have been someone else, but someone was saying that like when you die, you're gonna like, and you go to heaven, you will see how funnily little and incapable the devil is, or like
Compared
how
to Jesus,
weak he is compared to you know, to God.
and it makes no sense. It's like if it's like a little ant from your garden tried to square up to one of us, Like what's there to worry about? Like the most the ant can do is like push something over, and then all of a sudden you're gonna be afraid of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But before you mentioned like the Freemasons hosting it, have you looked into the Freemasons?
I know I've heard about their connection with the Knights Templar.
Yeah, the Freemasons are quite interesting. Actually, I have a friend of mine who might be down to talk to you on your podcast.
Sure.
He was formerly a Freemason.
Oh wow.
As well, but he told me a little bit more about them. Alex, the Voice of Reason, makes a really good video on Freemasons as well. But they love stuff like that, where they're like, oh yeah, every religion is the same religion. So it makes sense that they would host something like that.
Yeah. They definitely. I heard actually when you go up because there's like 32 rankings
Something like that,
in the Freemason order, and as you get more involved in it, you make generational oaths and generational ties with different entities and different. It's all demonic, really,
100%.
and but a lot of it, there's a lot of Gnosticism and mysticism that kind of goes on in it all, and it's
And in that
not
same
what
session,
people think it is.
we heard they told us about the priests who wanted to be priests, but they couldn't because of the Masonic
Oh, really?
connection. Remember, it was I think it was exactly
The church wouldn't let him be a priest?
No, like he couldn't do it. Like he was a seminarian, but like something was preventing him from like being able to like complete his oaths and stuff. And then he found out that that like in his lineage there was Freemasons.
A generation,
the generational
curses. Yeah, that's tough.
Crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to show you the evolutionary tree of religion, and you can zoom in on it and kind of follow. You follow from here and kind of follow throughout. And again, maybe I'll put a picture up for everyone else. But the whole idea is that it starts with animism, and animism is basically you ascribe like a spirit to anything living. You know.
Oh, interesting. Oh, you know this is still around?
Yeah.
Zoroastrianism?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it's very small, right?
Yeah, there's a Zoroastrian like temple like near Blessed Sacrament Church.
Oh, really? Wow.
I know, it's crazy. Wow, this just comes out of nowhere. There's no connecting.
It's
here?
supposed to be connected, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
gotcha. from Judaism goes to Christianity.
So you're looking at Middle Eastern. It comes from Middle Eastern shamanism, and different things.
Interesting. Polytheism, sanctuary.
And I think like religious scholars don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah,
And like it's not like it all came from one like sort of practice, but it's the idea that there is something greater, to this to humanity, and it's kind of obvious. We recognize that there's something greater, and of course all these different cultures and religions will start ascribing things that they can worship and whatnot, 100%. And that's where a lot of the pantheism comes from. So the idea is that, okay, there's animism. As early humans were going to ascribe spirits to certain things, maybe spirits to our ancestors or spirits to like an area, a forest, maybe spirits to an animal, and these are ways that humanity were trying to understand the natural world, right?
100%. We have an innate call to the divine.
Sure. And an innate call to understand truth, to understand the goodness and beauty. And early in our human history, we were ascribing spirits to certain things. So, for example, like for let's just say like you're a hunter-gatherer tribe, right? If you overhunt deer, right, then the deer god's going to be mad at you, and then
you won't have any more deer.
You won't have any more deer because he's going to curse you and whatnot. So this is how we understand overhunting, and stuff like that, and so we have to respect the deer god and give different things, and so that's kind of like an animistic approach, and then there's certain innate things that come up more obviously in humanity, things like pride, things like lust, things like greed, and so we start to ascribe these certain desires to gods, and things like the sun god. We can't ignore the very obvious fact that there's a cycle every day, right? So we're going to ascribe certain things to explain the motions of the earth and whatnot, right? And it's the beginning of like our scientific mind and trying to approach these things, right?
Wow.
So the idea is that once it becomes animism, you're ascribing spirits, then these certain more prominent things like the sun god, the rain god, maybe gods of anger and gods of war and gods of like things that are more close to the human the human
narrative.
Just human nature and human condition,
human
right?
Condition.
We start to ascribe specific gods, right? And this is where you get the pantheons, right? Where you get Zeus, where you get in Roman culture Jupiter, right? In Indian Hindu culture Indra, right?
That's right.
Where you get Thor in Norse culture, but it's the same god. It all comes from the same people, and they disseminated. Of course, there's some differences for, say, Egyptians. They didn't come from that sort of thing, but they still have pantheons, right? Like I showed you Thoth and Osiris and different things. These entities really do exist. And as Catholics and Christians as a whole, we believe that these entities are demons, right? But this is kind of like that explanation of like how we kind of
like how they came to be,
how all religions came to be. And of course, as a Christian, I don't necessarily believe in it. I do see how
I can see how someone can come to that conclusion.
How it can come to that conclusion, right? And there's some truth in it all. That's why we believe there's truth in all religions, but it's not the full truth, and it's 100%. It's not the fullness of things. But there's truth to certain things. But when it comes to those other religions, we'll tend to think they're demons and whatnot. They're gods.
I know what you mean. I think it's important too, because then like there's been people who are like respecting other people's beliefs and stuff like that. And like the whole thing about that is that we'll wrap up soon, but
sure.
Is that like you can respect the person, but when it comes to the belief, you like I can respect you as a person, but out of my love for you, I want you to go to the truth. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We in the Bible we hear about these different gods, but we hear our God Yahweh like describe how like we see He has proven Himself as being the one greater God, the one true God. There's actually I forgot. There's a Netflix anime. Oh, yeah, a Netflix show. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's about gods. It's about like, have you seen it, Porter?
Which one?
Okay,
So.
we'll talk about it off camera. I'll send it to you later. But in that show, it was like there was like a falling out of the age of the old gods, and then there was like a new god that came out of it, and then that was like Jesus. But like stuff like that, like it's just saying how like the one true God that like we follow that has revealed Himself to humanity is Jesus Christ. Because then and through the Old Testament we see that our God, like Yahweh, like all the different names we have for Him, like we see that He has reached out to us and He has like made Himself known. Whereas all the other gods in this and in the pantheons and stuff, humanity ascribes to, like humans create these gods and we live to please these gods, but Jesus Christ, like as our God, came down to live for us and came down to serve us. So that was crazy.
I want to ask a question on that, but I want to make sure I get a fact right before I.
Okay. But to make it a little funny joke is because before you're talking about how like you kill a deer and you say, oh my gosh, like if I kill too many deer, I'll upset the deer god. I was thinking again of how we're talking about Minecraft and how it like mirrors the reality, and they had Herobrine.
Gee, yeah. Yeah, I was actually just watching a video on the history of Herobrine. I wanted to ask you a question though. Obviously, so here, like critics of what you just mentioned, regarding Yahweh, and atheists will say, well, Yahweh was just another one of those pantheon gods, right? Which at one point might have been true, right? In Canaanite culture, Yahweh was closely ascribed to the chief god El.
Oh, that's right. I
El,
remember that.
and other gods in that pantheon were Baal, Asherah, Mot, and Yam. Different
Gods in that pantheon.
But Yahweh was one of them. And I think you could correct me if I'm wrong, but in Abraham, Yahweh does appear to Abraham and say, I'm the one true God, because he was living in a culture where they were worshiping all these other gods as well as part of the pantheon, but he says, I'm the one true God. And so, like, I just want to know, like, what do you make of it that, like, to the people of this time, Yahweh was a part of this pantheon and all these other gods, and like, why is Yahweh the one true God? And like, do you have any comments on that?
How has He proven Himself? Is that what you mean?
I don't know. Just any thoughts that you have on it?
Yeah. I think like we mentioned before how like back then the apostles lived in like that biblical time, and like nowadays we are living in our own type of biblical time. I think nowadays in modern culture there is other gods and people don't even realize it, but there's like gods such as like gods of like fame, gods of like money, gods of like pleasure, gods of because we ascribe gods, right?
Sure.
And like even with something like abortion, like the pro-choice movement has grown into kind of being worshiping a god of autonomy, where it's like, oh, like I want to do what I want to do, and as a sacrifice to my own joys, I will sacrifice this child of mine. You know what I mean?
It's an antithesis of Jesus Christ and his
exactly.
mission as well.
But if we even like follow that back into like historically, they used to do that too. They would sacrifice like children or animals, cattle, whatever, to these gods in order for them to
that was Moloch.
Yeah.
He was they would offer up child sacrifices to Moloch. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's just like I guess you could say that these pantheons have always existed, because at the end of the day, if you remember, like the fall from heaven was all these demons who wanted to equate themselves with God, and therefore they will offer whatever they can in order for us to worship them as such. But like our God, like the one true God, He's the one who brings us like true everlasting joy, because when you follow down these paths of these other gods, they don't offer the same fruits.
Sure, of course.
And I guess that's kind of like how you would know it, because Jesus says you know them by their fruits, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, I was always like, does this discredit my Christian religion? Because like Yahweh was a part of this pantheon, and why did they just choose this one God over the others? But of course, in the biblical stories, Yahweh proves Himself to be the one true God time and time again, and even has a little fun with it, making fun of the Egyptians and their gods, 100%. With the plagues. And I'm sure you're familiar with that narrative, that each 100%. Plague was addressing like the different gods that they had. And I thought of course, God makes himself known, and he proves himself time and time again, and he doesn't necessarily have to prove himself, but he's made known for sure.
He proves himself not for his own sake, but for our sake, because he wants us to be in the right path, and the path of truth.
Right, of course.
Because at the end of the day, like the demonic, like the demons are cowards. Like the moment they're faced at certain truth, all demons can do is run, throw a fit, or just like, you know what I mean, or submit. That's all they can do.
Yeah.
Like in like exorcisms, if you the Exorcist Files, amazing. But they always talk about how, like, during exorcisms, whenever the demons want them to stop, they can't. Like they can't. All they do is they make the person. They would make them do everything to disgust the priest, to like make him quit doing it. But like they don't hold any real power.
Sure. Yeah. Well, do you want to wrap it up there, or
Yeah,
give any
we can-
final words or
Final
thoughts?
words.
Or?
I don't know. Well, it was a pleasure to be on this podcast. Thank you so much for inviting me, Lorenzo.
Of course, John. Thank you very much.
I'm looking forward to see what you guys do with this. I would love to like see, maybe like you have like a bigger panel discussion one day. I'd love to be a part of it.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I've been meaning to do that, and I want to have you again, and I'm sure you'll be one of the recurring guests. There's so many more things that I know we can talk about,
100%.
because I do want to go into. We didn't get to the chance, but I'd like to go into science and religion a little bit more,
Science
and
and
kind of
religion.
like talking about the
I would
flood
like to do that.
narrative and
Yes,
how
you're
the
right.
flood did really happen, and we have the scientific proof for that. So
100%.
we'll definitely I'll have you
back
on
to
again to talk about that. We can also talk about anime or what
Yes.
what else we want to talk
Anything
about.
relevant.
And I haven't done it yet, but I'd love to do a group discussion. I'm hoping to have Porter on for it too. I know one of our friends, Ashray, who was just recently confirmed.
Ashray, I love Ashray.
Very
He was cool.
knowledgeable into the faith. And
Shout out Ashray.
yeah, I told him I'd have him on as well, and I'm gonna have him on individually, and then a part as a group discussion as well.
Cool.
And we can all get together, and we don't even have to talk about religious things per se, but we could talk about anything. And like our conversation today, there's in this conversation comes up truth and right, and we're trying to find out what that truth is. Every conversation is trying to find out what the truth is, and of course, Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and he's going to come into conversation at time.
100%. Well,
Thank you,
so
John.
much.
I appreciate it very
Thanks so
much.
much.
Hope to have you on soon again.
You as well.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.